Welcome to America's hottest talk line. Guys, hot ladies are waiting to talk to you.
Vinegar syndrome. Guys.
There, she wrote my name like on the.
She says Yeehaw and Greg.
Yeah, like she's straddling me, and then XOXO. Yes. So,
Greg's got a girlfriend.
It's got the Mighty Ducks guy. Got that guy.
No! Yes, but no! He's not the Mighty Ducks guy! It's Emilio Estevez! One of the Brat Pack! Jesus Christ! He was a Brat Pack before he was the Mighty Ducks is the end of his career! Jesus Christ! Get off my plane. I think Sony paid you a bunch of money to talk about all their steelbooks tonight.
This is a movie I didn't think I'd like as much as I did. I know it was like really popular because it like won some Oscars and whatever, but
Debbie does Dallas.
They actually produced crew jackets. Like the movie never went into production.
And then everybody asks about, what's it like being a part of the movie that bombed, or are we still talking about that? I said, look, well, I'd much rather be the leader of a squad in a movie than be the lead of a movie in the summer of '87 that no one remembers what it was.
Is anyone even there still? I don't even know.
Yeah, we're just listening.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was like, no one's saying it. Like,
really
listen to the story.
Just for instance, like, I mean, they've got all sorts of stuff. You can never have enough physical media.
Hello, followers, and welcome back to the Physical Media Show here on FanZcene Vids. A little bit of an early start time, so anybody out there in the chat and audience already waiting, go ahead and share that out. Let everybody know we started early today. I just felt like starting a little early today, guys. So Rookie will be joining us here soon. So go ahead and share that out. But I want to thank you all for joining us this evening with your time and talking some physical media. So I know at the moment we probably don't have the biggest crowd with us at the moment, but let's say hi to who we got with us so far. We got Random Brad. Nice to have you here. Heather Preston, hi to you. Doug 1985, Virginia Loves Horrors. Yo, what's up? Haven't seen you in a while, Doug. Where you been? Tyrell 72. Yes, we started early today. And cheers to you, Dalton B, sorry. And yes, Rook will show up tonight. He's running. We started a little early, so I figured I had, I just went through surgery, had my gallbladder out. I'm a little tired. I figured we'll start a little early tonight. Me and Tom get it going, and we'll talk to you guys a little bit before Rook gets here and everything. But how are you doing this evening, Tom? How are you this fine evening?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Interesting week for home media, let's say.
Yes, I did do a video on a certain situation that's arise between Disney and Sony. Yeah, it's kind of weird. What are your thoughts on some of that?
Well, basically, for those who may not be up to speed, real quick, Sony and Disney signed a deal where Disney is indeed a process of transitioning a licensed physical media distribution model via an agreement with Sony Entertainment. As part of this deal, Sony will market, sell, distribute new Disney releases plus catalog titles on physical media, 4K, HD, Blu-ray, DVD, etc. to consumers through retailers and distributors in the US and Canada. The shift is consistent with other strategies that Disney is working to implement company-wide, as exemplified by the company's recent transition in other markets. Per usual, Disney regularly evaluates their approach to the physical media market as home entertainment business and industry at large continue to rapidly evolve alongside consumer behavior. This agreement will allow Disney to continue offering films and TV shows via physical media, retailers, and distributors, and most importantly, to disc consumers more efficiently. Transition for Disney handing over its physical media operations to Sony has recently commenced and will probably take several months to complete. First title will be managed. The first Disney title, that will be managed on Sony by Sony on physical media will be The First Omen from 20th Century Studios, which releases theatrically on 4/5/24. Digital and physical street dates are to be determined. will be announced in the coming months. So yeah, there's a lot going into this. Bill makes some very interesting points. Bill Hunt of the Digital Bits here.
Mhm.
So I do suggest you check out his report on it. And one of the big things that's happening during this is sadly they're shutting down the Disney Movie Club,
Yes.
which I
yeah,
agree with him is a dumb move.
I
I
do.
don't see why they
yeah.
need to do that. And yeah, so for those who were signed up to the movie, and in fact, I just had somebody reach out to me just this last week asking me questions about the movie club, and it shuts down. So Disney, you're
Right.
stupid to do this, because there's a lot of people who are just finally learning that, oh, I could have got all these titles that I've wanted from Disney over the years, but I had to go through their stupid club to get them. Well, sign me up, I guess. And
Mhm.
now if they hadn't signed up, they're screwed because you can't sign up. But if you happen to be a part of the club, you get all upgraded to VIP member, and you get all kinds of great deals. In fact, I went in and grabbed a few more of the Disney exclusive titles that I do not have, just in case they're not ones that Sony gets to right away. And here's the thing that goes on with this, and then I'll hush up and hear what you think about this,
Mhm.
Greg. Basically, for these are the main questions I've gotten about this. What this means is Sony will handle the distribution to the retailers and the manufacturing. They will not be handling the mastering. So keep that in mind. And as far
Okay.
as I know, it will still be down to Disney to decide which titles they release and all that kind of stuff. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But that's my understanding of the situation, which kind of makes you wonder why. And I love Bill, but he goes through this whole thing about how one of Disney's main problems is their interior hierarchy and getting things through. I still see that's going to be a problem
Yeah, that's
unless
what
they
I was
turn it
thinking.
over to Sony altogether, right? Like, so yeah. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was kind of interested into seeing this, but I was like, okay, Sony does really good 4Ks and Blu-rays, right? Sony does good, and okay, maybe Disney, instead of, for whatever reason, wants other people to handle this. Okay, maybe we'll start getting Touchstone Pictures, Hollywood Pictures, Fox titles, and stuff like that. But then you like the more you read into it, because the Tyrell wants to know this is a good thing. It seems like it could be a good thing, but like we're still at the whims of Disney of what they want to release and what they will allow Sony to release. So on one hand,
And they're
I'm in it,
remastering and all
and
that
they're
stuff.
yeah, Disney's a remastering, and Disney's not a great remaster all the time. And
They've
they like
gotten
to,
points for their last two classic releases, Snow White and Cinderella. Look amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hit and miss with other stuff. Sorry, go ahead, Greg.
No, you're right. It's hit and miss, and it's like they only dive into the physical media realm when they just need a little something, when they need a little like good PR. It seems like, which is weird. It's like we need good PR, so let's talk physical media. But I was very interested. I thought it could be something good, but also now I'm kind of very hesitant, as always, with Disney, with how this is going to go about. Yeah, it's just. But do we know who's like okay? So like Disney's going to still be mastering them and all that. They're rooks with us, but is Sony going to be footing like the special features and everything?
Doubtful. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
is
that's
like
what I'm.
unless okay. And here's just a speculative scenario. How you doing, Rook?
Doing good. I was like, oh, I'm going to be right early. Oh shit, no. Okay.
We're actually talking about the Disney Sony deal real quick and getting
Yeah.
stuff out of the way so we get rolling because yeah, Greg's not feeling the greatest after his getting the shit kicked out of him by a doctor. But anyway, yeah, as we're saying here, as far as my understanding, the way this hierarchy works, they still are under the whim of the problems they had before. That's not going to change unless they completely cut that out. And my speculation is I wonder if this group of people will just be a transitional period until Sony starts to have enough data to where they can just take over themselves, take over the entire operation. If that's the case, fingers crossed, we will get some of the best looking classic Disney, Fox, you name it, titles out of there. And I'm sure they'll guarantee that the ones that sell the best will come out and so on and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit more about Sony's quality and what they're doing in a little bit with some of my picks. So I don't want to dive too deep into that right now.
Okay.
But yeah, like it could be good news, but until they get rid of this middleman with Disney, they're deciding, well, we're going to do this and we're handling all the special features and the thing. And then they just send it off to Sony for manufacturing and distribution. Well, this is nothing new. There's been deals like this for years. In fact, Warner Brothers and Universal work together with SRS and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they made
or SDS, I mean, yes, not SRS. And then years ago, I mean, MGM, their titles were released by Fox for years until Disney bought them. So
Yeah.
I mean, this is not an unprecedented thing. So
Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, I was kind of like, oh, really? And then like the more you dig into it, it's like, oh, it's just like a normal licensing deal, and you know, Disney still has the rights. So that's like you mentioned, like when I was reading the article earlier in my video, I was like, oh well, it takes this guy. This guy in Disney has to talk to his boss, then his boss has to talk to his boss, and something that takes a 5 minute approval takes 3 weeks. So if Sony is just putting them out there, all that, this guy's still going to have to talk to his boss. This guy's still going to have to talk to his boss, and it's still going to take 5 weeks to answer a 5 minute question. So
yeah,
what's
and
the
I'm gonna
point?
try and get Bill on for a 4K for you on Saturday to talk more in depth about this. So I
Yeah.
don't want to make any promises, but I also don't want to dig into it too deep till we know a little more, because he's also trying to get some more information at the same time. So, but I'm curious what Rookie thinks about all this news, if he's even kept
go
up
ahead,
with it.
It's the first time hearing of it, honestly. So Disney they're distributing some DVD releases out.
Disney
or-
has made a deal with Sony. Sony will now release all of Disney's physical media.
Oh,
Right?
okay.
They're going to render it, put it out there, manufacture it, all that. But Disney still has the say so what they're going to release, and Disney is going to be mastering the titles. So on one hand, it seems like a good deal. On the other hand, we're finding out that Disney still has a little more control than we would like.
Okay.
So yeah, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I guess. Would you say Disney has done well releasing physical media before, or Sony?
Sony is great physical media releaser. They're typically they are top notch, one of the best companies to release physical media with their scans and everything. There's usually no complaints from them.
It's like they'd be making them, but Disney still has like say in how they do it or something.
Disney will be doing the transfers of the films and basically letting them know which ones they can and cannot make.
Okay.
At this moment in time.
I gotcha. Well, that's a little odd. So I'm assuming that would apply. Does that apply to like the Disney Vault stuff? Is that like
we don't know. It's still like a rapidly developing story. It's whatever Disney decides, and the Disney Movie Club is shutting down because of this.
Okay. So what was the Disney Movie Club?
The Disney Movie Club is like what Tom does. It's where you sign it up, and they typically give you exclusives there. Like there's a lot of Blu-rays in the Disney Movie Club that are not released to the public at all, like the Mighty Ducks. Speaking of which, yes, you can get all 3 of the Mighty Ducks on Blu-ray, and then what Tom's got there was the Movie Club, Disney Movie Club.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
it's like Columbia House used to be. You start off, you get like 5 titles in the mail, or 4 or 5, and then you got to buy like 4 or 5 in the next few years. And every month, like this month, I'd have to refuse to want Wish. I don't want Wish. So yeah,
Okay.
but like they're already telling you can save X amount. If you're already a member, you can go on there and save a shit ton of money. You can get a lot of Disney movies for like $10 a piece. They're cheap. Yeah, so hopefully this is good news, but we'll see.
Yeah, it sounded like good news, but then I was like, do you more hear the control that Disney has? You kind of go, that's where you get that. But we do have a super chat, and there's one more question before we get to the super chat, Doug. I'll get right to your super chat. But I've heard this a lot. So if Doomed, if you're still out there, yes, it does seem like it can be very hard sometimes to search for Blu-ray on Amazon. Once again, that's another one of those things like where you search for a movie. Typically, they bring up the digital first. So you got to make sure you specify. It's got to be pretty specific on Amazon for like a Blu-ray or 4K title-wise. So it can be a little bit difficult at times. But if you know how to navigate it, you can typically find them,
Well, no, what's weird too, like I've had this a few times, like the Who Framed Roger Rabbit one. Like when I typed in for the Blu-ray, it was listing at like $14 or $15. But then like there's just another one that was just kind of random that said like multimedia format, and it had the Blu-ray and DVD and all the special features and everything. It was like $5.
Yeah.
I bought that while we were on the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, but the Blu-ray, just Blu-ray, was like $14.
Yeah, well, there's multiple releases and stuff, so it depends on what. Yeah, that's.
I think I had like the 25th anniversary edition or something.
Yeah, But sometimes you got to be very. Sometimes it's weird with Amazon because sometimes you got to be pretty specific. And like the Blu-ray or 4K, like you said, type the movie and Blu-ray or 4K after it. And sometimes you have to type the name of the movie in general. Sometimes you can just type a word of the movie, and for it. But one of the best things you can do is go to the like where it breaks down in this categories. Go to like movies and TV, and then they'll typically give you like the 4K Blu-ray deals through there, and it's easier to find movies through that way if you know how to do that. But yeah, and that can be a little difficult. I've heard that a lot from a lot of people. So I hope that helps you out a little bit, Doomed. But from Doug, 1985, Virginia Loves Horror for $4.99 super chat. He says, Rook, show your 1995 Star Wars VHS box set. I'll buy it from you for $20.
Is that an insult to the box set? I'm not sure. I would assume that'd be worth more than $20, I would think. But honestly, I'm holding on to them because they're the only, I guess, the only version of the trilogy I really have. I mean, I guess I have the Blu-ray, but I don't really count that as like that's the Star Wars trilogy on the Blu-ray right there because they have the stupid no, and then shit like that. And there, I need to maybe rewatch some of the special features came on the old VHSs. I never really watched those when I was younger.
Was that like you have
like,
the
they have like
special
before
edition
the
box set?
Yeah, special edition.
The 97 one or the 95 one?
I don't know the year.
Is it gold or silver?
It's gold. Yeah, it's gold.
Yeah, you had the special edition re-releases.
Yeah. Which I grew up on those ones, but then at a friend's house one time when they got to the scene where Han gets shot, I was like, "Well, that's different." So that was a fun discovery. And then the later the years of the Who Shot First meme was around, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's a whole thing."
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
The Tom's got the good ones there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You got the special 4K ones.
Do you have all of them, Tom? Damn. Like I can imagine you having all editions.
Yeah, someone made these for me. These are
those aren't the those aren't the Disney 4Ks. Those are the actual 4Ks of the original unedited versions of the film. They're out there. They are hard to find.
Empire's actually an upconverted version of the despecialized edition because but I believe the first one is from the silver screen and then the third one is from 4K 83. But yeah.
Here's a question for you, Tom. How do you join the Disney movie club?
Can't anymore now. Sorry.
Yeah, sadly, you can't. It's shutting down.
You have to make a time machine now.
I had people ask me, and I directed them as many, and I got a couple of free movies from getting people signed up. Now it's all over. So yeah,
that's crazy.
Good things they did have. I mean,
I know. I much as I because like I can't really stand giving my money to Disney, but I thought about joining in here recently so I could get like Three Musketeers and some other stuff, and now it's like too late. So
too late. Can't.
Oh well. Now. That's why I said I expect a lot of those movies exclusives, as if they weren't already expensive enough on like eBay and stuff where people scalp them. They're going to go through the roof now. They're going to be extreme. People are going to be charging.
Crashing yesterday.
Yeah, people are going to be charging outrageous amounts of money for those.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Snowdub apparently gave away his VHS trilogy. No, when he was younger or something. Not know the value.
I still have mine. Unedited. Well, they're edited, but they're not the 97. They're the original, like from like 80s and 90s. But
when I literally saw like somebody like showed there's like a dude that's Jabba the Hutt, and I was like, "What is this? Like what?"
Oh, that's one of the deleted scenes.
I was like, "Where the hell is Jabba the Hutt?" Well, no, like the version where he isn't a monster or whatever. He's like he's like a dude. I was so confused when I saw that the first time. I was like, "That's not right."
But I say edited because mine has the episode 4. The original Star Wars never said episode 4. So.
Oh right.
Yeah. But I still have the ones with the original Emperor and all that, and it's just like slight changes, I believe, from back then. Well, good evening, and also good evening to everybody that's joining us. I saw everybody in the chat that showed up. If I didn't say your name, I apologize. Thank you all for showing up. We did start a little early, but I thank you all for being here, and thank you everybody at home watching. As far as other new releases, I don't think there's anything. I haven't seen anything. I know Arrow's going to announce more new releases this Friday. We did get confirmation on The Crow, which I think we talked about. It's up for pre-order right now. Steelbook or regular edition, standard edition. But I think that's it. Do you guys remember seeing anything new? I don't. I'm looking, but I don't think so.
Pee-wee's Big Top.
Oh yes, I forgot about that. Yes, Pee-wee's Big Top.
Or Big Top Pee-wee, I should say. I don't even know why I just called it that, but yeah.
Coming from TerraVision, surprisingly, so their imprint called Greyface, which that surprised me. That's probably like their biggest title they've ever had. So that's interesting. But also we did get some Warner Archive collections here. It looks like Stand and Deliver is coming from Warner Archive with a new 1080p master from a 4K scan, available March 26th. Yes. The Little Drummer Girl, starring Diane Keaton, is coming to March 26th from Warner Archive Collection. And Money Talks with Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen is coming March 26th from the Warner Archive Collection. And then, like I mentioned, The Crow. And I believe that's all I'm seeing at this moment. Once Upon a Time in... did we talk about that? Once Upon a Time in the West, 4K from Amazon.
No, you didn't bring
Paramount Presents, Paramount Presents is... Got a 4K of that coming May 14th. I believe that's it as far as nobody cares about True Detective, Night Detective. It's horrible. Nobody gives a... Even the guy that created the show was like, that sucked. That was cracking me up. People were fighting over it. Like the guy that created the first season was like, this season sucks and it should not be connecting to my show. People were like, why did you say it? And it's like, because it sucks. So what do you want him to say? But I believe that's it. That's all I know. So there you guys have it. Oh yeah,
Steel Magnolias.
I didn't see that one.
What else was there? American Snipers rumored, or did that get confirmed? It says May, but I don't know if that's a confirmation or not. Tootsie's also rumored, and then we got. Did we mention American Pie last week?
Yes, we did. So. It came in during the show. I think we checked it in.
Yep. Yeah. All right, then we're good.
Yeah. All right, and I got 3 titles tonight. How many you got, Rook? Because me and Tom's got 3, so I don't.
Sure, I have 3 as well.
And is it going to actually be physical media this time?
I have the physical copies this time. Okay. I was literally just finishing up one of them before the show started. That's why I didn't look at my phone until I came on. So
okay. I was just curious.
Yes, I got you.
But you know what? Since you were late, we'll make you go first. So what do you got for us first?
Okay. Well, I've been diving back in. I don't know why I felt in the mood, but I never actually. I've seen 2 of the other movies, of course, but I never saw the first one of this trilogy until just recently.
Oh, goodness.
Batman Begins. I saw The Dark Knight, and I was like, this is a nice movie. And then Dark Knight Rises came out, and I was like, this is a good duology. And then people are like, there's another one. It's like, fucking what? And then I had it for a long time, but I never watched it until just recently. And honestly, this is probably... so I've watched all 3 now. And it's like, yeah, Dark Knight is so fucking good. Dark Knight Rises is very funny. It has a lot of good moments, but probably the weakest of the 3. This one's just fucking awesome. I want to rewatch it, man. Again, it's like fucking good. It was like a good for considering how many times I've seen, especially the training type of montages and sequences, and what lessons they try to teach. This one did a decent job with that, I'd say, and utilizing fear as like a huge element in there. It didn't feel like I feel like that could really be fudged. In Dark Knight Rises, actually, they try to invoke a little bit of that too, but I felt like just was really weak in Dark Knight Rises compared to Begins, where that is like part of his character, like being built up in there. And so, and then rewatching Dark Knight, but with the context Batman Begins, like, okay, that's still nice. Which is kind of funny because I feel like Dark Knight stands alone without seeing Batman Begins, but I do like having seen Batman Begins now as well. And you see Liam Neeson be fucking an awesome master, essentially. That you know, you get to see him actually apply the teachings and skills and stuff. But I really enjoyed it. Man, yeah, it's like these are probably some of the most rewatchable movies. Like I've seen Dark Knight, I don't know how many times. Dark Knight Rises, it was always on TV here and there, but no, it's got good moments, but it's not my favorite of the three. But
I always see Batman Begins as a bit of a dark horse. People often forget Batman Begins because of the way the Dark Knight and the Heath Ledger stuff. So people often forget Batman Begins.
No, I'd say Batman Begins is really good. I right now I'd say it's probably my favorite, not the best of the three, but my favorite of the three. Just maybe because I just saw it recently and still fresh in my mind with it. Yeah, I like the way they have it, especially because it focuses more on Bruce Wayne, where the other two is a little bit different on the focus. Second one is more of like, Batman and, does he reveal it or not and stuff like that. And Dark Knight Rises is all over the place with where it is, sort of. Kind of an amalgamation of the two. Does he be Bruce, Batman, all that stuff kind of there? But this one was really good, really defined. I've always known of his parents' sequences and their deaths because it's just ingrained in the culture. But I never really saw, other than Snyder's version of the parents being shot, I never really saw that. And I liked how they showed it here. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's just so good the way that they do that. Really good.
Yeah, it was one of the more fleshed out, more comic book sort of accurate style scenes. But it's like it's like how many more times do you need to see Bruce Wayne's parents be shot? But that's probably the most definitive version.
Well, I mean, I'd say
on
that's
screen.
Still, if
maybe the animated series. I like the animated series.
I mean, I feel like you should never give up as a filmmaker to be like, well, you see, that's the mentality that should go into it. If you see something after the Batman Begins one, it's like, well, how do you top that? It's like, well, you probably can't top it, but you should still try to do something rather than just just never do it again. Just watch Batman Begins and then you'll be fine. That's like, as a filmmaker, that'd be lazy as fuck. You got to try still. Gotta try. Okay. Because otherwise it's like, I don't know, because that'd be kind of weaker on the filmmaker's part, if they're just like, well, I'm not even going to try to think of an idea.
People get so tired of seeing Bruce Wayne's parents shot in almost every movie. Even in the sequels, he'll flash back and it'll show him again.
I'd say like, you shouldn't flash back in the sequels, but I'd say if you're doing an origin, regardless, I was going to say, how many Batman movies are there where there would be the origin needs to be intrinsically tied anyway? I don't know, but
Batman movie. Every Batman movie they show that. Even the ones afterwards, they still show it.
I'm saying, how many of them do you think it's integral that they show it?
You only really need to show it one time, and one like in an origin movie, but like they pretty much showed it. It's integral to Batman's story, period. So it has to be shown.
I feel like people, like when they didn't do it with Spider-Man, the first time we see him in the MCU, a lot of people were pissed that they didn't see, like, the Uncle Ben stuff. A lot of people I remember them being upset that they didn't see that.
Yeah.
But it's like, but then the same thing is for, Batman and his parents. And I don't really see, I feel like you can do either. And there doesn't need to be like a set, you must show it or must not show it. I think it depends on the type of story you're telling where you need to show something. Because if it's not that relevant to where you're focusing your story on, then you don't need to show it. Like in BVS, honestly, I don't think you needed to see the parents get shot because that had nothing to do with what he did. But then they'd go, no, but the Martha part, remember? It's like, still, I feel like that should have been more around him as a character then in the movie. I don't know. It just seemed like it happened here and then later it happened here and just not really connected well throughout. So didn't really need to have that.
You definitely needed the scene in Batman Begins for it.
Technically,
Begins, I think what most people got upset with the Uncle Ben thing and the Spider movies, not so much that they didn't show it because you don't need to see it. What they got more upset about is like they never mentioned Uncle Ben. They never mentioned how he died. They never even said Uncle Ben, I believe, in any of those. Not that I remember.
Well, he's alluded to a couple times, and I think they mentioned him by name at least once.
Did they? Because I could never remember they actually.
Whatever he's using is Ben's. I know that, but yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you don't really need to see it in the Spider-Man, but it's like it's nice to acknowledge that he had an Uncle Ben and that something happened and he died, and that helped Spider-Man become more, with
Honestly,
great power
the
comes great
first
responsibility.
Batman movie, you didn't need it, and in fact, it would have been better off without it because then you didn't need that stupid part where it's the Joker that killed him.
Oh yeah, Batman.
Spoilers.
89.
Just kidding. But
Go ahead.
yeah, I don't know. I just find it interesting because Doug down here says at this point everyone knows about Spider-Man and Batman's families. No, I agree. Like, again, me not even growing up with the stuff, I know about it. I knew about it before I saw any of the live action movies, or I didn't really watch the cartoons. I didn't read the comics. I knew about it though. I knew of them. They were around. People would say it. That was one of the things you just couldn't avoid. But I still feel like if you're a filmmaker and you're given the movie, I guess the option is there. Like, how integral is it that this is an important part of their character, clearly, but how relevant is it to the story that we're telling with the character? That's where the decision to have it in there or not would matter, I think. Tom, I wonder what you think about that, though, like about choosing to show the deaths or not. I feel like you'd agree with me on this. Like, it really depends on what the angle is.
Yeah, I mean,
otherwise, don't if it's completely unnecessary.
I mean, really, Batman Begins
experience.
the main one you needed it for.
Yeah,
I mean, they could have saved it in the first movie and left it for Batman Forever, where it's actually more relevant. Because we see it again and again and again and again and again. As I've joked many times, I think the Waynes have been killed on screen more times than Dracula, but
yeah, that's what I say.
Right. I mean, I feel like RJ, I think RJ down here says it. Right? Yeah, he says it needs to be in every origin because every Batman is somebody's first, and that would actually be interesting too to like see.
But you don't always have to show
anyway.
it, right? Like, it can just be alluded to. Even in the original Batman Adam West series, it was only brought up once and only once in the first episode, and that's it.
Yeah, I'd rather them not feel obligated, like, because then sometimes it might just be shown as like, well, did you even fucking care about showing it? You just lazily showed it.
I say it's the same thing like the Uncle Ben thing. As long as it's acknowledged, you don't necessarily need to see it. And something like Batman Begins, I do think you need to see it. But if it's something like where you're starting a movie where the guy is already a hero, as long as you acknowledge that the fact that Uncle Ben died or that the Waynes were killed, and this is what brought him on this journey, that's fine. You don't necessarily need to see it as long as it's acknowledged and you know it. But something like Batman Begins, you probably should show it. And plus,
well, I mean, one, it's in the title, like Batman Begins, and his parents' death are integral to him beginning. So it's like already just without, then we can add more reasons as to why that's important and why he doesn't like guns and why he does like they show the whole buildup. But then we look at like BVS and it's like, well, one, it's not even like a solo focused movie on him as a character, and then it shows the stuff at the beginning. It's sort of like a montage sequence. It's a long montage essentially of showing his stuff.
The whole movie is way too long.
And then it's like, okay, and then we go to the end, and that's supposed to connect, but he's in his like, I'm going to kill people and use guns. I don't care. It's like we skipped a lot of the things that just to get there, and I was like,
I think that was more or less they were just wanted to use those actors and possibly use them as in a Flashpoint thing. But as far as Cillian Murphy as Bruce Wayne, Brent Barth, there's a reason he didn't get the role, and there's a reason he got Scarecrow. I don't think he would have worked. He's not the Bruce Wayne character archetype, Batman type guy. He's much more of as we've seen with Oppenheimer. He's much more of a brains type guy in that sense. He's not meant to be like that type of hero, and I don't think he really would be now in this stage in his career, anyways.
Right.
Yeah, and it would have been interesting.
He made a decent Scarecrow. He's like a skinny. He doesn't seem like a threatening guy, but it's
Scarecrow's supposed to be a skinny guy. It's fear toxin that makes you threatened of him.
Yeah, but I mean that's what I was saying. What was good in it? Even the guy was like, oh my god, they let the nut guy in front of the clowns and whatever, and then just the thing. I liked how it was also mixed to the League of Assassins a little bit with the fear toxin and the Batman Begins verse or whatever.
It would have been interesting to see how Heath Ledger was incorporated in The Dark Knight Rises. Sadly, we'll never really know.
I feel like he wouldn't have been an integral piece. He probably would have stolen a scene or two, but like I feel like I don't know how that would work with the whole plot.
I think if I remember right, the whole concept for 3 was originally going to be that Joker would be behind bars and Batman would be using the Joker kind of like a la
Hannibal Lecter.
Hannibal Lecter
Yeah,
to
I
catch
think I
whoever
remember
the,
that
'cause
now.
I think it was the
Yeah.
Riddler or something like that was the initial plan, but yeah.
Yeah,
not
I
bad.
think I remember that. Yeah.
Not what I would have gone with, but I could see that working potentially.
Better than what we fucking got. Batman, the Dark Knight Rises is one of the worst Batman movies ever.
Yeah, I'd still say it's an entertaining action movie, but yeah, I felt way
It should
disconnected.
be called The Dark Knight Rises sometime in the third act.
I felt very disconnected, and as far as it, I guess that's one of the main things, because honestly, I felt like the movie did well at propping up other characters that weren't Batman, and it was like, but Batman himself, he's in a lot of the movie, but not much happens with him. Not much happens with him, and it's like, I don't know. They could have
We
done
got
more.
fucking Merman in the movie.
Done a little better. Yeah.
Is Dark Knight Rises worse than the Batman, Brian? No, the Batman's the worst ever. Then probably Dark Knight Rises is a tie with Batman and Robin, in my opinion, and Batman v Superman. Well, no, Batman v Superman is worse than those two. But I do like Ben Affleck as Batman. Like, he's still probably one of my favorites. But
He looks like he has a good build jaw for it too. I don't know.
He's just in
he's
bad
actually
Batman
the most
movies.
comic accurate as far as size and height.
Yeah.
He's the tallest of all of them, and otherwise, the second tallest, most people don't realize, is Adam West.
Yeah.
And then it's like Val Kilmer, George Clooney, and Michael Keaton.
Right.
Michael
But,
Keaton's the shortest, obviously. But
but Michael Keaton will forever
Christian
always be
Bale's in
my
the middle
Batman.
there. He's like 6 foot, so he's like dead in the middle or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people hate his voice. I kind of do too, a little, but I also love it though. I'm glad that where's the trigger? Fuck you. Where I like. It's
What's wrong with the voice?
He puts a lot of enthusiasm
Tom.
behind it. So I kind of like that.
No, hold up, time out. You're talking. I can't talk with a regular voice.
When
Then people would know who I am.
When he's getting choked out by Bane in his fight, he sounds like Joe Pesci at one point to me. He's like, something with the underground. I was like,
Okay.
it's like, how can, and Bane's like got these Vader quips that are just like, funny. You thought I grew up in this. You're molded by it. You really adopted the darkness. Do you feel in charge? Every line is just silly.
Yeah,
but I
he
love
totally
it.
like.
I love
That was
it.
like low key, like trying to say I was doing blackface. I'm like, fuck you,
It doesn't matter who you are.
fucking banal bastard.
Oh, the way you laughed, it hurts my stomach. Oh.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I gotta go anyway. So,
All
kid.
right, bad Tom. See you
But yeah,
later.
that was a movie I was watching.
It's funny that you brought on Batman. It's going to be a bit of a superhero night because I step back into the world of superheroes myself, but superhero movies that most people don't like.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You got Steel.
No, I don't have that far.
Good.
It didn't go that down.
I didn't go that far. Maybe one there. Speaking of a little bit of,
I want to make people angry. I haven't seen any Superman movie, but I have seen Supergirl the movie.
yeah, I am not looking forward to Barry Keoghan, whatever his name be, Joker. I thought he was the little clip. I thought it was utter trash. I thought it looked stupid. His design was stupid, and it wasn't good. So the new Joker for the Patterson Batman, which was not very good. Oh, I love Meteor Man. I've been wanting to get that on Blu-ray. It's out of print, sadly. I want to watch Meteor Man and Blank Man. Oh, I remember those movies. But okay, that's I guess we'll move on for Batman Begins, and to you, Tom, if you have a movie, the first movie, whatever you want to pick for the night. If you're
Well,
ready.
actually, I watched the movie you brought on last week,
Okay.
and that is Footloose.
Not
As
good.
we found out, it comes from a scan of not the negative, but an inner positive. And that being said, it's not the worst ever. Then knowing that, it's not too bad. But I don't understand other things still. Like I said last week, why they removed the DTS-X soundtrack and just have the Dolby Digital 5 or the DTS 5.1 on here. Makes absolutely no sense. Overall, though, it's a huge improvement over the Blu-ray. The Blu-ray has a lot of DNR on it. Like you can even see it moving when people are like moving their face and stuff. That is not on this 4K. So that being said, kind of like a little addendum asterisk. If you can get it for like cheap, it's worth it. But just keep in mind, it's not going to blow your mind. It's a really soft looking 4K. It is an improvement over the Blu-ray though. So I think that was the big question most people would have is like, okay, but is it better or should I just stick with the Blu-ray? No, the Blu-ray looks like donkey shit. Seriously, don't. Yeah,
Different
no
from
doubt.
dog shit. Donkey shit's
I was gonna say it's not the
Worse.
worst 4K I've seen, but it's not the best.
No, you can now that I know that going into it and watching it, because like when I'm watching it, I'm like, there's something wrong with this. Something wrong with this. Something wrong with this. And I'm reaching out to people and talking to people, trying to get to the bottom of it. And then when I found out it came from an inner positive, not the negative, it's like, okay, that makes all the sense in the world. Explains every problem I'm having with the picture now. But that being said, they have not overly disastrously destroyed what was there from the inner positive. They clearly gone back. They either removed or did not add to the 4K version what they had to the Blu-ray version, which was from a few years ago, from the anniversary edition, the 35th anniversary, so it'd be 5 years ago. So that's how old this scan is. Keep that in mind. And it is from the inner positive. But that being said, they're probably just trying to recoup their costs on that scan. And I'm gonna guess in 5 to 10 years from now, we'll get another version of this because they got to go back to the negative. This is fucking Footloose. I mean,
Yeah, like the 45th anniversary or something.
yeah, basically, yeah, the 45th or the 50th, and definitely by the 50th, I bet it'll get a new 4K scan for sure.
Yeah.
If they reboot Footloose, I'm assuming they'll pick Chris.
They
Pratt.
did reboot Footloose. They did remake it.
Really?
Yeah, people
Yeah.
forgot about
Oh.
it quite quickly.
It's bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was literally just memeing. When did they do this?
Like 2000 something, like when they were remaking everything.
They
Oh,
countrified
I mean, I
it,
meant like
though.
if they remade it again, I guess, in the modern day, the now.
It was
that
more like
worst time
CMT's
reboot
Footloose,
stuff.
wasn't it?
yeah. It wasn't that long ago. It was like maybe I know we're 2026 now.
2016,
I was
14,
gonna say
somewhere
10
in there.
years ago, maybe. Yeah, it wasn't good. Hey Terry Scott, I'm doing good. I hope you enjoy the replay later. But yeah, I did when I was watching. I was like, yeah, it's not great, but it's not. I've seen worse, so I can handle this. It's better than, like you said, it's better than the Blu-ray, so I can handle this. And plus, I really just dug the steelbook. Other than I don't understand why they glued the poster to the back of the steelbook and didn't just put in.
I don't know.
That was the dumbest thing.
No, I don't think they lost the negative, Ace
Yeah,
Hanlon.
that's
It's just
fair.
that this was scanned back when they just first started scanning. And a lot of those movies back then, like, they didn't go back to the negative yet. They didn't start doing that right away, except for certain classics. And then I think once they realized the benefit of the resolution that you gained from that, because it's a lot of work. I guess the other thing people don't understand, and this is why for as much griping as we do, we got to keep in mind that it is a huge task to take over one of these when you got to do it from the negative, because you basically got to reconstruct the film again. I mean, now granted, it's the film, you got the soundtrack, but you got to kind of it's a remastering like literally remastering. Like, it's not like back in the day when they used to say digitally remastered and blah 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 blah. All they would do is, if you're lucky, they would do some sort of rescan of the whatever inner positive or whatever they had at that time. But even then, you know, it was for whatever resolution, and the technology advances so quickly that even a 4K scan done 3 to 5 years ago does not compare with some of the newer stuff we've seen, right? Or
Right.
You'd actually have to probably go 5 to 7 years ago, because you guys got to remember, that's another thing. It takes a year or two sometimes to get these discs together. So that's another thing we got to keep in mind too. And again, I'm not trying to fucking make excuses for Paramount, because I will say there's a lot of problems with this.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse. Why isn't the DTS X mix on here? Why isn't the original? This is the other one that pissed me off more, and I think I brought this up last week. Why isn't the original Dolby stereo fucking mix on here?
Right.
Like, this movie was a big deal for Dolby surround sound back in the day. Why isn't that original mix on here like it should be preserved?
Yeah, with all
Makes
the
no
music
sense.
and everything. So
Well, I mean, it's the same thing as the newer mix, but I mean, to have that original mix. Like, I've
Yeah.
noticed a big difference now that we've gotten now that we've had a lot of these releases where they've gone back and made sure you have the original version of the soundtrack plus whatever versions they've updated in the in the process. A lot of times I go back and just watch it with the Dolby surround mix. It feels more natural to the time. Because I've noticed that in some cases the 5.1 mix is just too cleaned up.
Yeah, I find myself going back to the older mixes.
Or
myself.
you have the other problems where they change certain sound effects and stuff to make it whatever. And in some movies it just doesn't sound right on too often. Or they just do a piss poor job. Like I've even complained about certain ones where they just didn't do a very good job on it.
Yeah.
That being said, no, I mean it's still a very sonic film. It sounds okay. Is it going to be one you're going to pump in to sell your buddy on 4K? Though, fuck no.
No.
And the price point on this is a problem. This is one that I don't know where Paramount's getting off charging this much for it. So I would hope that in the next few weeks it goes down in price. So I just wait.
Yeah. And plus,
that's all I have to say about that.
That's all I have to say about it. Plus, the standard is cheaper at the moment, but still a little too high. So I'd just wait a little while. Like you mentioned before, a lot of those have gone down in prices. Some of those Paramounts, you can tell which ones are going down in prices and which ones like we talked about Trading Places and Scrooge being a little bit better 4K scans. Those prices actually gone up a little bit, and some of the other ones,
Rosemary's Baby, on the other hand, you can get for $10.
Down. Yeah, gone down. So you can tell which ones are good and which ones are bad.
And again, I think Rosemary's Baby suffers from the same issue this was, but I think Rosemary's Baby was actually from the negative. Yeah. But it's that old of a scan. Yeah.
It just wasn't very good. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to me if that's all we got for Footloose.
Yeah, no sense in dragging that out. We already talked about it last week.
Okay, cool. Speaking of bad superhero movies starring certain actor that we mentioned earlier, Daredevil, starring Ben Affleck.
Oh, I like that slipcover. I don't have that slipcover.
No,
I just got the regular disc.
Sadly, this is just the director's cut, though.
No, that's fine. The only thing I hate is they didn't care. I don't think they carried over. They didn't carry over all the special features from the original version. There's a couple documentaries missing, so I've been wanting to get my hands on the old one just to get that.
Yeah, I still have the DVD. Actually, matter of fact, I got both DVDs of the director and the original release of the movie.
Okay, well, yeah, I might have you hook me up with the special features then off the DVD, so I don't even have to bother.
Yeah,
because I don't care about. That's one of the few films where I'm like, the director's cut is the only cut.
Really? I kind of like the theatrical cut a little bit better.
Wow, I'm curious what makes you think that, because to me the R-rated cut makes all the difference to me.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's I don't really like the Coolio stuff, really, honestly. In that director's cut.
Okay, that's fair. See, now to me,
I don't really like the Coolio.
I'm fine with that, but I like the fact that it's R-rated. So
yeah. I like the fact it's R-rated, and I know like one of the biggest differences is like when he's up on the building with Elektra, instead of going to bed with her, he leaves her on the roof, and he goes, and that's when they cut to the scene where he beats up the guy, and the kid's like, "No, that's my dad." And he's like, "I'm not the bad guy here." So other than that, the director's cut is actually, I will agree, it is a superior movie. I don't care for the Coolio stuff. I really think that stuff really could have been left out of the movie. But
that's
other than that,
fair. Yeah, they just had to add it to give it a good reason.
Yeah, but no, I agree with you. The rated R-ness is better. It is a little more Daredevil-esque.
Honestly, I just assumed they'd cut out the bit in the park. I hate the fucking teeter-totter shit.
I love that scene. Is so silly. I love it. Yes, keep the scene in there. It's so ridiculous.
Only in the theatrical cut. I would have cut it out of the director's cut, but that's just me. I didn't.
It's Electra Nachos. Oh, blind man fighting a woman, evenly matched. I see.
Yes, I will say I should probably rephrase that, and I should say the director's cut is the better cut, but I prefer. I mean, it's not that I prefer. It's just that I just don't like the Coolio stuff. Not that he's not a bad actor. Stuff. I just think it kind of slows the movie down a little bit. So I could see why that was cut out. But other than that, yes, I do agree that the other changes that were made in the director's cut, because like the director said, if I remember from watching the commentary, he said the movie was never supposed to be about Daredevil and his relationship with Elektra and stuff like that. It was supposed to be about Daredevil. So, and like, I believe along the way.
If I remember right, the studio was pushing that because they really wanted to do an Elektra movie.
Yeah. So they made it more about their relationship than,
did the Elektra movie come first or after Daredevil?
After.
after, but then they turn around and cut the Daredevil cameo
Yeah.
out of the fucking movie.
I was so confused. I thought it was like the Elektra first, and then when she shows, I thought that was why it was a big deal.
No, because in the comics she's resurrected.
saw-
It's that story. I
For
believe.
me,
Yeah.
it's like I saw Elektra first, and then I saw Daredevil. And so I was like, oh, it's the reason why this is getting a lot of attention, and she's able to fight. Is like, oh, it's the cameo. It's the, haha, we, if we know her, if we've seen the last movie. That's how I took it. I saw it. I didn't know. I didn't know that Daredevil came
Elektra
first.
was a
Okay.
spinoff.
Although I think there is flashbacks in Elektra, isn't there, to her being
I think in the
taught?
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her, random monk stuff and white gi attacking.
I haven't seen Elektra in years. I never really cared.
That one was so boring, though. I just hated Elektra. The movie, oh my god! I wanted to like it a lot, but I'm like, God, there's the little girl and there's like a whip, and she's like, I don't like you at all, but now you're my family or something. And I'm just like, what? And I don't know. That movie did not know what it wanted to do at all. But Daredevil's a bad fun movie. I think it's a fun. I never have a bad time with Daredevil.
Sorry about that. Had to get up for a second.
No, you're good.
Yeah. No, but yeah. What was we saying here?
I was just saying that Daredevil is a bad fun movie for me. I don't think it's that great, but I love it. Like, it is a fun watch. It is funny.
Yeah. So.
What's sad is at the time it came out, it was one of the worst superhero movies. Now,
yeah. Like I'm watching. I'm like, even though it's a race swap, freaking Michael Clark Duncan is the Kingpin.
Dude, he's so good.
Really
he was a fan favorite at the time. Yeah.
The guy who plays the blind Daredevil. The kid Daredevil shit is silly. It's funny.
Oh my god, you got the full screen version.
Yeah, I had
of
the
it,
full
dude?
screen of that one.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know why. I could have sworn
You
it was
should
the
be
widescreen.
embarrassed.
I was trying to hide it a little bit, and it came through. But I don't know why I have the full screen. I thought I had the widescreen of that. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had but I have this. So
I love also because I think around the time I saw Daredevil, was like around what year was Daredevil? What year did that come out?
2002, 3, 4, somewhere in there.
Yeah, around there was like when I saw like other things like Dudley Do Right for the first time, and they like do the thing. So a lot of the jokes were funny to me as a kid because it was like, oh, I saw all these things at the same time, and they're like, what's this? The Deborah Douglas Day. What? Oh, it's the Daredevil. That's what they're referencing. There you go. And so, as a kid, I felt smart when I recognized a reference. So it's like, there you go.
Yeah, I don't technically hate the Daredevil movie. I know it's been mocked and put down. I don't hate it. I don't mind it. I mean, is it goofy and silly over the top? Is the scene?
Oh hell
like
yeah!
we mentioned earlier where they are fighting in the playground. Stupid, yes.
Yes.
Is Ben Affleck not the best actor at this point in time? No. And to answer your question, Brian Barth, I do think Affleck is a better director than he is actor. Personally, I do. But when he directs himself, he actually tends to act good, act better, I should say.
I kind of like how in the movie, I don't know what you guys think about it. Like when he goes to sleep, he's kind of like vampiric-ish, or it's like he's got to, he hears things so well. He's got to be in the water, and that may seem weird, I guess, but I like that because it's kind of like a hindrance of the ability. It's not like, oh, I can basically just see. It's like, no, you like your whole life is pretty much changed by this. Yeah, you can still do well.
Yeah, and I don't think they
whatever.
really touched on that too much in the Netflix series, and I agree with you there.
Yeah, I liked how
they don't treat it as much as a burden as he does in this movie.
Yeah. Like, able to pretty much get along in the show. Still does really well in the show, but I liked this attempt where it's not all happy sunshine powers are fun. It's like, no, he'd probably be better with some other things. That's kind of why I like the Elektra stuff, because to me it was like it doesn't seem like he connects well with women really. He just sleeps with one every now and then, doesn't really care, and it's like I see what they're trying to do. They could have done fucking better, of course, but that's where I guess I was sort of liking some of it, where they could go. There's a lot of that'd be an interesting one to reboot in that style, try to do a sequel to the Daredevil of this time.
I love the
Disney's already doing their own job of ruining it.
And they're going to ruin it bad. I mean, because I do love the Netflix series Daredevil. I think it is one of the better
Yeah,
comic
really
book
good still.
adaptations.
Yes.
I see this Daredevil movie as more of a comic, if you know what a comic book adaptation, if you know what I mean. It feels more
It's
like
kind of like
a
the
comic.
23, the Ang Lee Hulk kind of, sort of. Is that what you kind of?
No, I don't think it feels like that. It just
A lot of
feels like
people
it's
say
more
that's
like,
a comic book one.
well, that's because the way he does the screen and he makes it flow like a comic book and with the screenshots and everything. But
That movie's also an adaptation of that one. I think it's Frank Miller run, isn't it?
yeah, Frank Miller. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, that's what it feels more like. I'm reading a comic book, watching the Ben Affleck Daredevil one, more like I'm reading like almost a '90s comic book. Whereas like where I'm watching Daredevil on Netflix, it feels like I'm reading a more of a newer version comic of Daredevil with some of his greatest hits. So that I don't know if that makes sense, but they're
Yeah,
both
like a newer version that isn't bad.
and not that I don't technically think this Ben Affleck one is bad as everybody thinks, but it's goofy fun.
Yes,
It's goofy fun.
I'd agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So
The costume's better than the new one.
It's worth
It
worth
is.
it even if you've seen it. It's worth rewatching. It's interesting, and the way I like the way they try to imply the style too. Like he's like I can only like he can see really well in the rain, that being an element to his
And
ability.
we
like
completely
meaning,
overlooked Colin Farrell as Bullseye too. He's amazing.
I know
he's
actually
no,
pretty good.
he's-
He's actually pretty good.
I feel like
yeah.
he was not over. I feel like a lot of people love him because he kills the old lady, kills the old lady with little needles, and you're just like
Oh,
he's
I
hilarious.
want a fucking costume.
He's very
Yeah,
goofy,
and he never really gets one.
he's very goofy, but he's great.
Oh, I have a great story about that because my dad and I were watching this, and when he, speaking of which, the old lady tells Bullseye in the plane, he goes, "If you ask me, she had a little bit of cream in her coffee, right?" He says that when she's talking to him, and my dad thought that was so funny, so he called my mom up at her work. Because she worked at Subway. She was a manager, by the way. And he called up and somebody answered and he goes, "You want a little cream in your coffee?" And it wasn't my mom. And it was one of the employees. And she goes, what? My dad hung up real quick.
Oh, oops.
And then the woman told my mom, and my mom immediately knew who it was. And she called back and she's like, "Did you just call up here and say this?"
That's great.
But yeah, it's funny. But no, Colin Farrell was great as Bullseye. I like him in that. I think he's pretty good. I think it's got a pretty solid cast for as goofy as it is. So Jennifer Gardner is pretty good as Elektra. Ben Affleck he's Ben Affleck basically, and then you got Colin Farrell just hamming it up, playing it great. Yeah. And then Michael Clark Duncan is awesome as the Kingpin.
Michael Clark
Duncan is
so fucking tight.
You do not see color erase on him at all in that movie. He's the Kingpin.
Fight you in your prime.
He's the Kingpin
fucking
in that
beast.
movie. And
I gotta say the visuals too in it were pretty good for the most part. Some of the stuff's a little wonky, a little twitchy in the eyeballs. They kind of try to go for like a cool wow, look at that, but there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly, it's the same guy that directed what's his name's Ghost Rider movie, Nick Cage's. Same director.
Oh wait, it wasn't just the first Ghost Rider?
First Ghost Rider, not
okay. I was thinking of the Crank guys.
Yeah, I forgot John Favreau was in it too as his friend. Is it Happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or he's Foggy. I think
Foggy. I'm Happy Spider-Man. Foggy. Yeah, he plays Foggy in Foggy in that one.
I like the little corny joke. He has him look away and he pours like mustard or something or syrup into his coffee cup, but then he switches it when he's not looking, and it's like funny little blind joke.
Yeah, and I did Joey Pantaleone is in it as well as Ben Urich. I forgot about that. Yeah, he was great in that too.
It's one of those classic, I don't think they didn't care really about, what the future is. Like, this is a fun movie, fucking. Or if they did care, I mean, it was fun. That's all I can say. I can't say it's great, but
I can't argue with people when they say, "I don't like this movie, it sucks, it's a bad movie." I can't argue with people but also at the same time, I have fun with it. I mean, I know it's not
plot makes a lot of it is easy to follow. It makes enough. It's not convoluted as fuck.
I know it's not great, but it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. What do you guys think of the kid Daredevil in it?
Oh, he's all right. He's okay.
I was like, I don't know if I need this. I don't know if I need the kid part. Honestly, that was a little. little iffy, a little goofy, and the bullies are again. I hate this is the thing in general. It's not Daredevil's fault. It's in general the kid bullies in movies usually fucking. They're all just like, do they not know how kids interact? But no, the point is to show a bully. Yeah, but do they have to like suck every time? Can you like make some kind of sense? Like, it's a stupid
bullies, they're
blind
supposed to
kid.
suck.
I'm gonna punch you now. It's like, oh god. Okay, sure.
It helps him
sure.
with his first battle.
Uh-huh. Do you guys love the kick that he does when he's
yeah.
like blind and it's like woo, just like does a backflip? It's like wow,
Hey,
no
it's what
no
said,
momentum.
it's
Yeah,
cheesy and over the top. It's fun.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, but I had a hankering to just a spoiler alert for everybody. I had a hankering to watching some old Fox superhero movies. So all my picks tonight are old Fox superhero movies.
I know what you mean. I need to rewatch
the
Fantastic Four,
2000s.
man. Oh,
Yeah.
haven't seen
So
that in forever.
just so you guys know, that's where my head is. I don't know. I was like I was telling Tom, I seen people talk about, X-Men 97 and all that, which I think looks awful, and I have no interest in that. And I see talking about Deadpool Wolverine, and I was kind of like, maybe I'll slip into the old Fox early 2000s superhero movies and give them a little look-see. I haven't seen them in quite a few years. And I remember I always liked Daredevil, even though I know it wasn't the greatest. But there's my first pick of the night. So let's move back on to you, Rook. What do you got for your next pick?
Oh, shit.
Well, goodness.
Hold on.
What happened here?
My cat knocked over the mic. Hold on.
It's like, let's move on to Rook. Shit, fuck damn.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm gonna put my pants back.
Okay, closing the underwear
My
drawer.
finger's in your mouth, kitty, but I don't
There we
feel
go.
no teeth.
Yeah, cat knocked over my thing. I was like, yeah, I'm ready to get fucking knocks over the mic and stuff. Well, I already told you because I wasn't lying. I only watched the Batman trilogy. So
You could have just bought them all on at once.
I got no choice but to do this. So,
Rook, we kind of already covered all this.
but I didn't go in depth into the movie.
That's
or
all right
nothing,
because we want to get out of here early anyway. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Dark Knight.
that's one of the
great,
trilogy,
course.
hands down.
Yeah,
The only
fucking
problem
awesome.
I didn't bring up earlier is the issue with Batman Begins and this movie and Dark Knight Rises is this. The only thing that keeps them from being perfect Batman movies, they're almost perfect movies. The thing that keeps the first two from being perfect Batman movies is they're too much James Bond and Batman than there are Batman. But yeah, other than that, they're great. And that's the best one.
That's because Christopher Nolan has always wanted to do a James Bond movie, and they won't let him.
Do you guys, to make it interesting for the pick, since we already talked about stuff, was there anything specific you did not like in The Dark Knight? Because I had one scene. I'll start. Sort of. It's where Harvey Dent's talking. It's in the beginning-ish where they're doing the court thing, and the guy pulls the gun on him. Then he just, fires, and it doesn't go. And then he's like, "Should have bought American." And then, he's trying to. It just felt like a played-up, weird scene. Like this guy got a gun into the courthouse and shot him, but the gun sucked, so it didn't work. And then Harvey just continues it like it's normal. It was a cool scene, technically, but like it's one of those ones. It's like I don't know about that. That's just too convenient that this guy was able to get a gun into the courtroom, shoot it, and not kill you, and then you just continued off. I don't know. Do you guys feel that way in that scene? Like
I thought it kind of worked for the character where you knew he was going to be. How he has this sort of like.
Well, that has nothing to do with Two-Face himself. That's not my.
No, it tells you who Harvey Dent is.
But that doesn't have.
They
that's
talk
not what
about
I'm
they
saying.
pop up Harvey Dent as like he's the best of them. He will continue. He will fight in the face of like this overwhelming threat legally in that sense and keep going no matter what.
That's the whole point. Is Harvey Dent is supposed to be not only, what all the things you just said, Greg, but he's almost so damn good that Batman even thinks like, nah, this guy is so good, I can just quit.
Well, no. I get that. My criticism has nothing to do with Harvey Dent. My criticism has to do with guy gets gun into courtroom, fires gun does not fire, and then Dent dismantled. Just those parts that lead up to there. I feel like that's a lot of things to just get. To get the gun in there, but I guess
it's not.
But I guess
the
only.
There's
I guess the
been plenty of
main
times
part,
people have tried to do that with plastic guns and shit.
And
I guess
guns
it's more.
malfunction.
I guess it might be more like explained as the movie goes, how people get bought out.
And he acts like he's
quite a
almost
bit.
expecting it too.
That
so
was
like,
that was his reaction. Like,
well,
the
it's
way
because
he
they're the
played
fucking
off of it
mob,
was
Rook.
just-
I don't know.
I bet
It's
he's
just-
checking his hood every time too, under his hood every damn time he starts before he starts his car and a bunch of other shit.
Okay, when you're trying to criticize something that's so amazing, that's this small scene is.
No,
something
I
that
get where
just
you're
think
coming
could've-
from, but like, I
could've
guess I
tweaked a
didn't
bit.
question that part so much because I'm like, yeah, like I said, you kind of are self-prepared for that, and it's just showing how cool under pressure he is, and that's kind of the whole point. Is like he just moves on like it ain't no thing.
Yeah.
I guess if I can say, I think it might be sort of explained later as it goes. Like, Joker pretty much buys out a lot of people in the police force and stuff. He's able to show that a lot of these people will turn or they can be bought, they can whatever. And it's like, so maybe there's something like that, like that he's able to get a gun in. It's just that sort of thing where it's like, how easily does somebody just get a gun in? He's doing his speech.
In New
He
York,
interrupts
well,
it,
it's
and then
Gotham,
he's like,
New York,
I'm not
right?
finished, Judge. And is
Mob
like,
that like with the mob, that's happened. That's happened before with the mob.
Yeah.
yeah, but I assume the gun usually works when they
No.
fire it.
no, not a lot
All
of
those
times
plastic
no.
carbon guns don't usually work all that
Yeah,
well.
they usually don't.
They use and terrorists like to use them to get on planes and shit too. Yeah.
Okay.
My
well,
biggest what besides they mentioned here is I don't like how he gets killed off so quick after becoming Two-Face.
That's
I
the
do
lame part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
lame part. But
He
one of
should
my
have been
scenes
left
that
open for the third film. Exactly.
yeah, he should have been. One of my big nitpicks, and it's just a little nitpick, is I don't like the scene when Batman's in the club going after Eric Roberts' character when he's fighting to get to him. I kind of thought that was stupid, but I love the scene that afterwards when he's got him on the roof and he just drops him. I love that scene and he breaks his ankles. I love that scene, but this whole scene how he gets to him in the club, I never really. It's just I don't know. There's something about that always irked me, but other than that, I mean.
After the club scene in the Batman though, it works.
Yeah, that's true.
right. True.
I'm here to see the Joker or the Penguin. Is he in? Can he come out and play?
and that's true. And also, you got to remember, Gotham is that corrupt, so it's more than likely people were paid off.
My only other
That's
thing
true.
with
That's
the,
what. Yeah.
with the whole thing with the Joker is he's not so much all about trying to prove Batman's a hypocrite. It's just that to him everything's a joke,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
Like what they did with this Joker is they kind of made him lean a little bit more into the Riddler in a weird way, because that whole boat thing is like something that Two-Face actually, because the boat thing is actually something more like Two-Face would do, right? It gives you a choice.
A little bit,
But
yeah.
Yeah, but see now they kind of tried to fudge it and make it more like a Joker thing, because the joke is that he thinks that the people would that the bad guys would blow up the other people or vice versa, right? Like
right.
he
He
knows
thinks
somebody's gonna
everybody's
blow up somebody.
everybody's corrupt.
Everybody's corrupt.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it would have made a bit more sense had it been Harvey at the end doing that, even if it was the Joker pushing him into doing it.
Which he does even say, is my final.
Well, yeah, but I also get the point. It's also plays on the whole the Joker's mentality of everybody will resort to being like him if they have one bad day.
And
So,
see, that's kind of a later Joker thing.
yeah, that's true.
I mean, the Joker just always kind of was like, to him, it's more like what he finds funny and amusing, right? And to him, he likes to twist Batman up in knots and get him to the point where because if anybody's going to get killed by Batman, it's going to be him, right? Like that's what he's trying to do, is amp him up to the point where he kills him, right?
Yeah.
And this Joker feels like at the end he's almost trying to talk Batman out of it. It's like no, Joker would be pushing him even further than that. To the point.
I guess.
Well, what do you mean he's trying to talk him out of it?
He's trying to it's kind of like also with it's just the way he acts there. Like at the end, it's almost like he's trying to talk him out of pushing him off the thing instead of talking him into pushing him off the building.
Yeah,
I don't know. The Joker would try to talk him into it.
I feel like when he reveals
him enough to.
I feel like after he, even after the Joker falls off the thing and he catches him and then he talks to him and he's like, I've got one more trick up my sleeve. I took White Knight and brought him down to our level. Like, you're still going to just let me be Batman, I took your
That's
best
Batman's
guy
oath. I mean,
and
he
fucked
won't.
them up, and you're still gonna let me live.
Yeah,
That's
and my
Batman.
point is they
He
should
won't
have done
cross
it in
that line.
reverse, in a
Like,
sense that it should have been the Joker setting up the Two-Face with that, because that would have been his ultimate kind of like
I can
proof
see where you're
to
getting from,
Two-Face that there is no such thing as ultimate good in people, right? Like, because
I
that's the
could-
whole thing. Is he was sorry.
No. I don't mean to keep coming, but you're right. That I think that kind of plays. That would have been something a little bit different and a little better, maybe, because that does play on the whole fact that, like I just mentioned, the Joker says everybody will be like him after one bad day. So he's pushed Harvey Dent to have that one bad day. Now Harvey Dent is pushing these two people out there. It's like a yin and a yang, like Harvey Dent, good and bad, criminals and normal people. Who's going to blow up who? I could totally see that as a Harvey Dent type thing, and that Joker would have twisted him into doing with the whole one bad day thing. Yeah, so
I feel like maybe they could. I feel like maybe the people make it. I could see them totally just being like, all right, now how do we make it where this is what our Harvey that we build in this movie does? Like he sets this. Because he's on a like specifically this Two-Face, this Harvey is trying to get back at the people that basically got Rachel killed, the corrupt police officers that fucked him over and stuff. As part
See,
of
and
it,
that's my
essentially.
problem, and I think that's part of what some of the people in the chat are saying is that's not something that would push Harvey over the edge necessarily. What pushes Harvey over the edge is that he goes in fucking sane.
Mhm.
And that's the thing is they miss in this thing is half of him is sane, the other half isn't. And that's why the coin, and that's where I think it would have played better with Batman and him being the Joker sets Two-Face up with it. I mean, he could have set it up himself. He'd be like, I got you set up with the perfect plan here, buddy. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's what it is. And it's actually Two-Face going, this is what I have to deal with now, Batman. I'm always at odds with myself. One side of me wants nothing but revenge and to take out everything that happened on everybody in society and blah, 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 blah. And it would have been perfect dichotomy to explore what really means to be a hero. And it would have played in better with the end of Batman going, no, I've got to be the villain now instead of the hero. Because it really makes makes sense, but it doesn't make sense in the way it plays out is all I'm saying. It's good.
No,
but it's like I'm nitpicking it. Don't get me wrong. Kind of like
well, I know that's what I asked you to do is for us to try to nit.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, guys. We're literally not even.
And that's what I'm saying because then at that point
takes aren't
it's
even that
him.
deep right here.
It's
We're
him
nitpicking
presenting the
it.
fact that he is trying to tell Batman that nobody is perfect because Batman had the confidence in him to be the White Knight. Remember?
Yeah.
So it's like he's saying that no, there is no such thing. Everybody's one bad day away from turning against their fellow man, and that's what he's trying to prove with this boat thing that Joker set him up for. Because Joker is just kind of like chaos incarnate in a sense, but it's just more like
I kind of see what you mean. With
they've
that.
never really done a good job of capturing the Joker on screen, other than the cartoon, and the old series. Because the Joker, it's always a joke.
You said the cartoon. There's a lot of different cartoons.
Batman the animated series.
Okay, cool.
The Mark Hamill.
I've seen the
Joker.
Justice League Joker, of the animated Justice League.
Well, I think that's the same one, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
but he's only in like one episode.
I've seen the Batman.
Yeah, but anyway, until you get because see, I mean, there's some people who think at the end of the Killing Joke, Batman kills him, and then there's other
according to
people who
Alan
think
Moore,
does.
he said he does. So
Yeah, so like that's the thing, and it's like no, Batman wouldn't do that.
yeah,
And that's why
Batman
I mean I
runs.
like the Dark Knight Returns because in that point it's the Joker who does it to himself and finishes the job, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Batman stops just shy
And
of
then
doing the job himself, and then
snaps his own neck.
because that's the whole thing is Joker wants to make him a murderer in a hypocrite in that sense, but it's not like it's always about a joke or a twist, right? And I'm trying to think of some good examples, but like, yeah, I mean, like obviously he made like he put Barbara Gordon in a wheelchair, didn't kill her, but he put her in a wheelchair,
Yeah.
right? It's just things like that. He beat the hell out of Jason Todd, killed him, but even though he originally wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
Well, so
I mean, that's the farthest he's gone as far as like violence, but other times it's usually he does some elaborate scheme that there's some kind of joke to it, right? It's always ends with some kind of joke that he can say.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the closest we Jack Nicholson did have a few moments, like the whole thing with, the way he took over the mob and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of Joker-ish, but Joker's not like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'm not doing a good job of it tonight. And I don't want to drag this out anymore.
Yeah, I get you.
Greg.
But Harvey Dent, I don't believe Harvey Dent was wasted. I think Two-Face was a little wasted near the end.
Exactly. You
So-
did all that setup for very
Well,
little payoff.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I guess for me, I guess not knowing too much about Two-Face's origin, I feel like it makes sense in the movie why this is where he goes. He's not like I guess if he were to continue, I could see him.
My problem is
doing
they make him
more
like
stuff
all
like
bad.
this.
They don't give him a good side at all, hardly, except for when it comes to the choice of killing or not killing.
Yeah.
And that's
Because it's
not where
like,
the inner
I
turmoil comes
feel like
from.
maybe they would have benefited from like an extra scene or two, because I feel like, especially having it be where Batman saves Harvey, he's like extra pissed a little. Like you're
See,
like, but
Harvey was always
I mean-
struggling with a split personality within him.
Exactly.
And they took the name Two-Face
Okay.
in this as he was a Two-Face cop.
okay, yeah,
and he
because I
went
didn't,
to the
I didn't
IA
really,
and he
didn't
was
really
a
get that, because they didn't really show him as that at all during it. He's pretty level
They
headed.
didn't do a good job. If this was
Pretty
supposed to, like, honestly, yeah, if anybody gets kind of the shaft after getting set up really well, is Two-Face, basically. Yeah, because you do this really great job. He should have been left alive for the sequel. Even if you, at the expense of the Joker, if you would have killed him, because then at that point it would have worked out in reality.
right.
But because that's what happened with the third film. The plan that Nolan initially had went out the window, and that's what.
he yeah.
And I think that's what I told you earlier was the initial plan, was that kind of a deal, and it was, yeah. But anyway,
Well,
Yeah.
so I guess just one last thing on it. What? So, like, if we were to have the movie as it is entirely, at what point would you have something change to make a difference for Two-Face? Because
just
to
the
me,
very end, I would have it to be where when Joker's sitting in the room with him, he
Mhm.
would be like, basically he would be taunting him and kind of bringing him into the whole situation like he did, but he's like, the real problem here is now is, he figures out that he has this multiple personality disorder kind of thing going on. And then he sets him up with the boat idea. So it's actually Harvey is the one pulling off the boat thing, not Joker. Joker was just kind of like a puppet master in that.
Once you really think about that you really did, that does kind of feel like a Two-Face thing, because one side's of normal good people, one side's the evil criminals that he was putting away. So that really does feel like, that almost feels like maybe that should have been or led to Two-Faces.
That would be more tied into.
And the Joker could have been involved, and he could, he.
And Joker is like you said, he wants to bring these people out. He doesn't want to really do all the things himself. He's like, if I caught it, I wouldn't know what to do with it. I'm like,
you could even have still had Commissioner Gordon's family on one of the boats, and you could have still did all that. I mean, but don't get us wrong. This is still like a great movie.
Well, yeah, see, again, you guys.
Yeah.
So everything we're talking about in terms of criticism here is like on this minutest level because it's so fucking good. That's all that we're doing there.
No, it's literally like just a minor quibble. Like you could just flip-flopped it a little bit. Heath Ledger's Joker could have either died and or
made it better
went
as an adaptation, sort of.
Yeah, but even then, it's still pretty good. And otherwise, my other things are just, they should have give Batman a little bit more detective stuff to do, less Bond stuff. Other than that, this movie is pretty solid.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The third film is where things go off the rails.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Sadly. I don't know if it's disingenuous that they promoted Heath Ledger for the awards after death. I know he didn't go into the whole awards thing, but
it's not abnormal for people to win post.
Yeah, and he kind of deserved it on this one, to be honest. So I don't know.
Wait, so what's the issue?
He won the award for best actor, or best supporting actor, I think it was. And chances are he wouldn't even have got nominated had it not been for the fact that he passed away. Let's be real. That in turn caused a big scuffle that people are like, well, movies like The Dark Knight don't get nominated and it should get nominated. Well, then other people are like, well, yeah, but the whole point is we need to get these movies out there that people don't know. And it's like, well, that's not what the Oscars used to be. So then the dumbasses expanded the just the best picture category by 10 to 10 instead of 5 or 7 or whatever it was before.
Yeah.
So they could, it's like, you're not changing anything. None of these movies are ever going to win.
Yeah, right.
It's like Barbie's not going to win this year, even then.
No.
And I said that had a good chance, but that was before I saw Oppenheimer, and I'm like, yeah, no, this is one of Nolan's best films ever.
I think Nolan's going to take it this year.
I think it's a shoo-in, yeah.
Yeah. But let's go on. If you've done there, Rook, let's go on to Tom and see what he's got for his second pick.
Okay, yeah. So, I got the Sony
Oh yes.
collection, the Columbia 4, Volume 4. So I watched. This is a movie people have talked about a lot, and it recently come up in James Gunn had talked about getting inspiration for this for Lois Lane and Clark Kent's relationship for Superman, which classically it always has been. So His Girl Friday is one I watched, and there you go. It's in the green box.
Nice.
The fastest comedy ever filmed, and one of the funniest, evidently. This is a classic to most people. This is my first time viewing it. Now, I'll review the audio and video quality. The audio is a straight mono. This is the only one in the box set not to get a Dolby Atmos remix. That's probably just because of how old it is. They probably don't have the original stems. I forgot to go and look if it was from the negative or not, but this is probably one of the best black and white transfers I've seen since A Wonderful Life.
Oh, nice.
That being said, I didn't really care for the movie all that much. It's okay, but it's not. I didn't find it as funny as.
This is one of the movies, right?
I get it. It's got snappy dialogue, and you got Clark Gable, and it's where the "get out" meme comes from, and all that kind of stuff. But there's just some spots where the story kind of just jumps into weird places, and it's like they're not doing any. Okay, so just for a setup of what it's about, because it's kind of a haphazard film to begin with. Basically, Rosalind Russell's character is getting married, and she used to be with Cary Grant's. I almost called Clark Gable. Cary Grant's character, and she's coming to tell him that she's getting married and she's quitting because she used to work for him at the paper where he's the editor at. He's like, "You can't quit," and all that kind of stuff. I need you, and blah 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 blah. And da, da, da. And that's where that whole thing comes from. This movie, that may be why I had such an issue with it, is because this movie has been obviously mimicked, parodied
years and years and years.
So many times over. Yeah. Sure, there's some funny elements within the scenes, but it feels so much of its era. I don't think too many young people are ever going to get into this movie. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. But I mean, I've had a lot of people that I know and respect, along with it being on many lists, so I'm not going to deny that. But I think unfortunately, I got to put it up on that pile along with like Cool Hand Luke, where I just don't understand it being such a big deal still. I guess at the time I can see why, because it was probably the first of one of those, and definitely this is the template for so many romantic comedies that came after. And as far as like, getting the whole dynamic between Lois Lane and Clark, like, I mean, I don't know about that, other than Lois just being with getting from her character, because you're definitely not going to get that from Clark here. Totally different character. This guy is a master manipulator throughout the film. That's kind of the whole thing, is he kind of cons everybody into doing what he wants, right? And she finds out about this case that he's covering, and he goes through all these great pains to make sure she sticks around, basically, and doesn't leave. And her fiance, who's actually played by one of the brothers from Trading Places, actually, which is kind of funny.
Really?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of his name right now. It's I think it's Ralph Bellamy, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he's right here on the back too. You can see him at the top there.
Oh yeah, right there. Yeah. I'm so used to seeing him as an old man, and although from the 80s.
But he looks, you can tell just from his voice and looking at it's who he is. No, I guess it's a classic, and I don't want to dump on it anymore. Overall, so I mean, it's a pretty good film.
I've only ever seen bits and pieces of it, so I've never, And
as usual, Sony goes all out with the special features. There's tons and tons of them on here.
I know. I'm kind of jealous that you got the whole Starman.
Well, I'm kind of pissed because it went. Well, I'm kind of pissed because it went down in price, like almost $40 right now.
Oh, that's cool.
Compared to what I paid for it, because I paid like $220, and now it's down to like $191.
Oh, nice. Yeah. But yeah, no, I've only ever seen bits and pieces. My Girl Friday, mostly because of Turner Classic Movies, when they would show it here and there and the commercials of it. So,
and I may have seen it back then, because I mean, it did seem awfully familiar in some bits, but
yeah,
it kept my interest long enough to watch it. It's not I don't think it's a very long film.
I get you.
It's 90 minutes, so I mean, yeah, it's all right.
Not bad. I mean, give it to the old school movies. At least they kept it short and sweet.
My main issue, I guess, with the story, other than just I didn't find it as funny as most people do, is just I didn't buy into the guy that they were trying to get off of death row, because that's what it's all about. Is this
Mhm.
guy's supposed to be executed, and he keeps getting execution of stay, and there's just this whole thing going on behind the scenes where the cops just want to off him and all this stuff. Yeah, it's just kind of
Yeah,
because he shot a cop, and yeah,
kind of weak.
and it's kind
kinda-
of a weak, weird, like there's also like a minor racist thing in it too, that I picked up on, but it's like I'm surprised more people don't bring it up.
Mhm.
But I think I know why. It's because the guy on trial is on trial for shooting a black cop.
Oh.
And she even brings up like a few things to that point. Yeah, it's you can feel the the racial stereotype of the time there.
Oopsies.
Like, yeah, it's like,
We
oh
didn't
yeah,
mean
but they don't
that.
dwell on it too much. After that, it's just the fact that the cops want him bad, kind of thing.
Yeah,
To die.
yeah.
But anyway,
Okay. Like I said, I wish I could talk a
She-
little more about it, but I haven't.
yeah, it's not one I can awfully recommend, but I mean it's still a classic. So if it's like you're trying to do like the 100, I think it's on the 100 AFI.
The 100 AFI movies of
I
all
think
time.
it is.
Yeah. Well, that's
It's the only black and white film in this box set. I think they only have one. Well, except for I think the one with Last Picture Show. I think they've only had like one classic black and white film in each box set.
But it wasn't like the Last Picture Show just purposely shot in black and white, though.
Exactly, but I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, just with that asterisk next to it, because I'm trying to remember what the old. There's an older one in there, but I can't remember what it is. But I'm pretty sure. Oh, I think it's It Happened One Night, if I remember right.
Okay, cool. That's one I kind of want to get because I want
Well-
just Starman.
Well, we'll
Personally.
talk about that in a little bit, not to spoil my last pick here. So.
Okay. Do you know how long it took me to realize the old man Ralph Bellamy in Trading Places was the same guy as the young Ralph Bellamy in Wolfman? Way too long.
Didn't take me long at all. As soon as I saw those eyes and heard his voice,
Right.
like he just has that his voice hasn't changed in like however many years, evidently.
It's like Robert Sapp. That's the name, right? Robert, who did Unsolved Mysteries. Like when you see his old movies.
Robert Stack, yeah.
Robert Stack, that's right. When you see his old movies, and then it's like that's the Unsolved Mysteries guy.
Oh yeah, his voice stands out like
it
it's
never,
exactly.
it never changed.
He's one of the best parts of basketball too.
Right.
I lost it when they're trying to find Trey Parker's character, and he just pops on screen. We've got no fucking clue where this guy is. And then when he does the voice of Beavis and Butthead, that was one of the best too.
Yeah.
Or, never start a sentence with a proposition. You work for the U.S. government. Remember those guys in whose camper they were off whacking?
Yeah.
That's not important right now, Bork. We got.
Oh, I haven't seen Beavis and Butthead do American years.
Oh, the Blu-ray came out not too long.
Yeah, I
ago.
know, not too long ago. I have never watched it in a long time.
It needs a 4K, but yeah, it's worth it.
Definitely. All right, I guess we'll move on to me. I mean, this movie is no Girl Friday by any stretch of the means. Fantastic Four, the original from Fox here.
Jessica Alba.
Foxtastic 4.
Fantastic Four. I don't think it's a horrible movie. It's all right. I think Michael Chiklis nails Ben Grimm. Personally, I think he's probably the most solid.
He's the best as the Rock, and that's a nice pun there as being solid. As far as Ben Grimm,
I thought he nailed him for the most part as the Thing. I guess
who'd you guys cast?
it's not very Jewish.
That's true. That's true.
Who'd you guys
You're
cast?
not wrong there.
Here's the problem with Michael Chiklis, and again, this is who everybody wanted to play the Thing. They wanted him to play the Thing,
not Ben Grimm.
not Ben Grimm. So what they should have done is got some different actor to play Ben Grimm, and just had when he's the Thing, it be Chiklis. But that's just a minor.
No, you're
thing.
right. You're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong there.
But at that time, Michael Chiklis was probably the biggest star in the film, so
Yeah,
go figure.
I mean, I thought they nailed him pretty good as, I guess you could say, as the Thing. Yeah, they nailed him pretty good as the Thing. I thought Chris Evans was all right as Johnny Storm. He sort of had the personality.
Yeah, Evans is good.
Yeah,
Alba's good, and what's his face is okay. Yeah,
Ian Grufford or whatever. He's all right as Mr. Franklin.
It's a solid enough cast. Yeah.
The worst is Doctor Doom.
I was about
I'm
to
watching
say
it.
I
Yeah.
didn't get him as like a villain guy at all.
He's-
Really.
Well, that
He's
is the
the
second
Green
best
Goblin.
Fantastic Four after
Yes.
film. After
I
this
was
one,
wanting
of
to. I
course.
meant to ask you about that because I was wanting to buy that again. Buy that, and I never bought it before. Is that still available at that store?
I don't know if he's got any left or not.
Oh damn! I was wanting to buy that. I forgot to pick it up when you gave me the link last time.
The dude who, yeah, I was gonna say the dude who made that documentary was selling them. So
Yeah. So I need to, and you need to send me that link again, see if he still got them. But
if I have it, you'd have to probably go back up and find it.
yeah, I have to go through it.
I'll see what I can find otherwise. But yeah.
Yeah, as far as the Doctor, he's the Green Goblin. They copied. I'm watching it this time, and I'm thinking, man, they copied some of these scenes directly from Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man movie. like when he's in his boardroom with the guy, like he's Doctor Doom. I own this company, and the guy's sitting at this like, yo, you're no longer like the head. It's just like in Green Goblin when they're like, you're out. And then like even when he kills the guy in the parking lot, he's like, maybe you should just go back to Latveria. You're out of your own company. And then he kills him. And like even when at one point in time when the doctor's checking on him, he throws the doctor across the room just like William Dafoe does when he busts out of the cage and he throws that guy across the room. I'm like, they just kind of copied Green Goblin for this movie. And so they totally did not get Doctor Doom at all.
Since they go back to Latveria, like go back to Africa or something.
Yeah. And he's got some of the dumbest, cheesiest one-liners. That's like all he speaks.
I don't remember him much in the whole movie. Like it's been years since I've seen it. He's the least memorable. I don't remember much of what he does or says.
He doesn't do much at all.
I remember everything else from Johnny with Jessica Alba's stuff. Like
most
in general, even the firemen, even some of the firemen, they're calling you guys the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, most of the movie is after they get the cosmic wave hits them and everything. Get back to where Earth is. Them four learning to become the Fantastic Four. It's like trying to, Mr. Fantastic is trying to cure Ben Grimm from being the Thing.
You get to
Johnny
see them
Storm
sort of
wants
be
to
a family, sort of.
Yeah, you see them become this family and learn who their powers and everything. And mostly Doctor Doom, or he's not really Doctor Doom. He's just Doom and Von Doom. He's Von Doom.
Dr. Floop.
He's Green Goblin light. He's really I shouldn't even say Green
that's
Goblin.
like an insult to Green Goblin.
He's what's Green Goblin's name? His real name? Not Defoe, but what is his name? I can't think of Green Goblin's name at the moment. Osborn. He's just like Harry Osborn light. It's who he is. And most of the movie, he's just sitting back watching them and saying, what I need to do is this. And that's about it. And then when he becomes Doctor Doom, he's like, I'm going to teach you a science lesson. It's time for you to chill out. And it's time for you to. It's like he has a bunch of really bad puns.
That's funny when it's from like
Norman,
Arnold, where his speech isn't great in general. Like that's why it's funny. When it's just a normal guy, it's not the same. So I don't completely hate the movie. I think it has its merits. I think they try to nail the characters, and their characterizations kind of get done, but they spend too much time focusing on one thing. They probably should have had a different villain. They probably shouldn't introduce Doctor Doom at all in this. Should have saved him for the sequel. I feel like it didn't need a villain at all, honestly. Just them getting going
somebody
space,
by the end of the movie,
the powers. And you could set up that he's going to be the villain easily in the movie.
Yeah, very much, but
I feel like enough happens in the movie, and there's little bit more of enough room to have.
There's more. Of them.
I guess I could see them going. There's not enough action in this movie or something. Even though the bridge scene is full of.
Well, the bridge scene they caused. The thing is like the whole scene where they rescue each other.
I know that he caused it. But I'm saying,
it.
I know, but I'm saying I'm trying to think of like if. When they're making a superhero movie, they always go, well, what battles should we have? What big events should we have? And I feel like the bridge scene, it may not be a battle, but that's like a intense moment where each of them are using their powers in some sort of way to do something. That's achieving something is my point.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a superhero movie.
You don't need to have a villain fight at the end is what I'm getting at.
I think you do. I think you need a villain fight at the end. That it's what solidifies the team. It's what most people come to see, anyways. They do come to see like a superhero's battle of a villain. You need the in villain fight, but you need a convincing enough villain. And this was not Doctor Doom. There was poorly. He's probably the worst cast actor in the movie, and that's saying something for a movie that was not. I mean, either for what it was. But yeah, I don't. I mean, I had fun with it, but it's still not. It's not the greatest, and you can tell. Like I keep saying, you can tell they were trying to ride off of Spider-Man's coattails. You could tell they were trying to mimic some of the stuff that happened in the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie and transfer it to the Fantastic Four. And that doesn't work because the Fantastic Four is not Spider-Man. So, so mainly the Doctor Doom stuff. But other than that, yeah. I don't know if they will ever get the Fantastic Four right. The 20 Fantastic Four stick was horrible. I've seen Roger Corman's version. It's not bad. It's really cheesy and campy and over the top, but it's probably the most accurate so far, to be honest with you. If you've ever seen it, it's probably the most accurate. But for the most part, that's there you guys have it. I watched the Fantastic Four. Like I said, I took a little trip back in to these early Fox superhero films. But there you go. That's really all I have to say about it. It's just okay.
Yeah, I plan on revisiting them at some point. I plan on revisiting them at some point too, and they seem like they're fun. I remember the second one being kind of okay, but having more issues than the first one.
The second one is where it goes off rails big time. Like you could almost forgive the first movie if they come out swinging with the second movie, but the second movie comes in with a more of a kid-friendly rating, dance sequences, it is shorter, and they totally screw over Galactus. But Silver Surfer is actually pretty
I had
cool
no idea that was Galactus. Like,
yeah,
it was just they just show like a shadow cloud thing, and I'm like,
it's like a cloud of smoke.
I'm like, I didn't understand what they meant. They're like, he's like, I served this thing, and I'm like, a cloud, like what? And then he's like able to sort of beat it, and I was like, I don't like. It's just a cloud. Like, what do you? Like, I don't even know. And then like I don't know. It's very.
It's
pretty goofy.
It's not great. It's not great. But yeah, there you have it. There's my second pick of the night. So Rook, let's go on to you. What do you got? Which I think we all know what your final pick is.
Oh, I watched.
Which we've already spoke about all of them already.
Pretty much, but I guess we can now say what's your dude, Dark Knight Rises. This is usually a more hated film. What did you guys like the most in it? What about that? For this film that is typically criticized, yeah, sure, but to make it interesting, yeah, we're going with what do you think was the best in Dark Knight Rises?
If I have to say it's best, as much as it is, I know Chuck Dixon himself doesn't really like the characterization of Bane, and Bane is probably not the greatest, but I do like the fight scene between Batman and Bane when Bane breaks his back, because I mean, even though I know that comic was made in the 90s to sort of capitalize off the whole Doomsday thing with Superman, and they were sort of doing that just so they could bring about Azrael and everything. I do like the fact that they actually had Bane break Batman's back. Granted, it's fixed really easy later on, not much long after.
Yeah, the way they do it's a little funky. I kind of assumed it would have been more of his, like, utilizing some of his tech to help keep his back straight or something, because they show him with his they make a point with his knee cartilage and how that's kind of messed up, and how I think they put like a little bit of a leg gizmo on there so he can bend it easier, like one of those type of exoskeleton things or something. I think they have that on his leg, and he's able to like kick a brick, brick wall pretty easily. And you'd think that would come into play again later, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it never does.
I feel like his back being fucked up would have been how you kind of explained how he's able to get back and fight later or something. But
but yeah, I do like the fight. I mean, it's not the best choreographed fight, but I do like the fight, because that's sort of like, Batman is giving his all to this guy, and this guy's just like, you ain't shit. And he just picks him up.
It's like Batman's aged a bit. He's out of practice from actual fighting for a bit.
Yeah.
He's trusting in Selena, and she kind of betrays him. He's in his element technically, though, in the dark, in the night, whatever. In the suit, he's in his element, and by all means should have an advantage. And this guy, trained by Roz as well. These two apprentices of
Which
Roz
I don't like
going at each other.
Bane should not. That's not Bane. Bane
I
was not
guess.
trained by them, and so that was horrible.
Well, for me, I'm okay with it because I didn't grow up with the comic stuff. Just for within the continuity of the movies themselves, I think that's fine with how that is and how he is and how he breaks them. He's like, I love his in the dark speech. He's like, yes, you merely adopted the darkness. I was molded by it and whatever.
Yeah.
And just boom, grabs him out of the thing. And I was like, dude. All right, Batman's got his whole thing about the shadows and fear, but this dude can reach out into you with it. He's like, the light blinds me. This, the dark is my home. Essentially,
Bane
it's like, all right, that's pretty good.
Bane is a much more interesting character in the comics than he is in this movie.
Every time I've seen Bane, he might be in the comics, but every time I've seen an animated thing of him, he always looks like a big giant goofball to me.
That's the thing. It's like most of the people that use Bane in the movies and the comics, they don't like the character. So they kind of just misuse him, but he has such a better, rich backstory in the comics than they actually present to you on screen. He's always presented to you in these movies and cartoons as like this big hulking guy, when in reality, Bane is actually a very smart and can almost sort of match wits with Batman, and there's so much more to him. So.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the whole point of the because like with this Dark Knight Rises, one of the biggest problems is they're merging multiple comics together. They're taking the Dark Knight Returns, and they're taking what is it called? I just mentioned it a minute ago. Nightfall, I believe it's called Nightfall, when Bane breaks Batman's back. They're mixing that together, and they're mixing the story with Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and it's just like too many things working together against this movie. But one of the big
shitty Catwoman.
Yes, shitty Catwoman too. Yes, I forgot about her. I did forget about her.
I was all right, but I don't have that many to compare to. So
yeah,
whoever thought that what's her ass was born to play Catwoman needs to be fired.
I don't know.
She's like the last. She's more of a Poison Ivy type than she is a Catwoman type.
I can see what you mean, but she looks nice in the Catwoman outfit, so there's at least that.
Yeah.
So,
but like, I do enjoy the Bane Batman fight scene. I do enjoy that. I mean, it has good moments.
Ricci should have played Catwoman.
That would have been good.
I could see that. That would be fine.
I could see that.
Yeah. Why not? See that? What about you, Tom?
Nah, you guys pretty much covered all of it. Yeah. I don't like much of anything, and
I don't blame you.
I still find it enjoyable, though a lot more flawed. For sure.
I'm also one of those people that feels like Tom Hardy's kind of overrated. So.
I guess so.
See, I don't know what he's praised for. So to me, it was just a funny. I like everything the character. He's a memorable character, but I wouldn't say he's a good character, but he's a funny and memorable character in this, at least. So,
Brian Barth, I don't know if bringing back Jim Carrey in The Dark Knight Rises as a darker Riddler.
I don't know if bringing anybody from those would mesh well.
I think he would have. Yeah, I don't know if that would have.
I don't think any of those.
I mean, I get what you're going for because Jim Carrey can't play darker, but I don't think.
Sad part is Paul Dano would have been great as the Riddler.
Yeah,
they'd let him play the fucking Riddler.
Yeah. It's true. I
mean, that's the kind of guy you want, or Jesse Eisenberg, or like he did in BBS. He would have been better as the Riddler. That neurotic.
Yeah, he was much more Riddler than.
Yeah, you want that kind of neurotic thing going on. No, Jim Carrey did a great job of doing his impression of Frank Gorshin on crack.
Yeah,
it's of its time. I don't really know if I like this idea of bringing back actors to play the same character in a completely different scenario like that. Doesn't always work. I mean, they used to do it once in a while with like Christopher Lee playing Dracula in different versions and stuff like that, but I don't know. I guess nah, if I had to pick.
But okay, there you have it, Rook. Anything else you want to say?
No, Anne Hathaway was hot. Catwoman, whether or not she's a good one, I can agree with you guys. Probably could have been better.
Cast, right?
Because I've only seen the other one, the Meow one, whatever
Well, and that's
that
just
in.
it. When I see what's her face? Who played her Catwoman in this one? It was I forgot her name.
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. Like she's just not. She doesn't scream Catwoman.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I could see. Like, I like the was it Michelle Pfeiffer who does Catwoman in the
She's
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
But that is a more dialed up Catwoman compared to this.
Yeah.
That is. And
But I
can
like
see that being
Catwoman.
more preferred.
Great Catwoman.
Anne Hathaway is just too. She's just not that tight. Like I said, she'd be great for like a Poison Ivy, but that's about it. Like I can't. Otherwise, you got to have her playing just like a straight character, right? Like she's just not the superhero type or the supervillain type, in my opinion.
Yeah, I kind of agree. She does seem like she'd be more of a girlfriend of a character, or like just one that isn't.
I mean, she's barely Catwoman in the movie, too. That's the thing.
She can be a scientist. She can be something around. She was a maid in the movie for a little bit. So, you know, there's that.
Well, I mean, I like that they finally played up that we finally got the cat burglar version of Catwoman. That part, what I was fine with. I just didn't buy into Anne Hathaway. That was my bigger. And this costume sucked.
She doesn't feel as dirty as Catwoman.
I mean, the suit was okay, but like, yeah, like the ears thing. That the way they did that to make them look like ears, I thought that was dumb.
Yeah,
I like the classic style Catwoman, or at least something along the lines of what Michelle Pfeiffer's was, which is my favorite. But yeah,
I feel like Catwoman should feel a little dirty. She never really felt a little.
Yeah, dirty. A little dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the problem with Anne Hathaway. She's got too much of that girl next door.
She's got a prim. She got a prim and proper kind of vibe to her a little bit.
She never gave up.
You're playing a rich girl.
Exactly. I can see her being like the nerdy science chick who turns into Poison Ivy. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I can't never gave up this vibe of like where Batman be like, if I get with you, this is going to be all kinds of trouble.
Well, that's right.
Again, I feel like
it would have been perfect or something.
I feel like it's the function. I feel like it's the function in the movie. She probably they weren't trying to have her be as you guys are describing. She was an accessory to the movie here, not really a.
Like I said, I about forgot she was even in the movie. I haven't seen it in years. But there you go. There's the final Dark Knight. I guess we
again in March. In March, I promise I will have a much better selection of things to watch, older things especially. So don't worry, you guys. Maybe I'll have another hot take soon. Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows?
All right. Well, Tom.
Hopefully, a Beverly Hills Cop 3 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, I do have the trilogy now.
Yeah, I know.
If you're gonna watch it I'm not gonna probably have it by next week. But the week after, I can watch it.
I'll probably watch it by next week. I bet.
I got you.
Because I've been waiting to watch part 2 anyway. Well, as we brought up earlier, this does have Starman in it, which is probably the highlight of the box set. I've got the old Shout Factory Collector's Edition here, and really, the only thing you need this for, if anything, is the TV spots, and I think it has one of the trailers that's not on here. I don't know why. They carried everything else over, even the Shout Factory documentary is there on here.
Really?
Yeah, so like and this looks like dog shit compared to this on the let me put it up front. This is one of the best looking 4Ks I've ever seen with optical effects in my life.
Nice.
And I can't remember who said it, but somebody who was working on the transfer said the same thing. They couldn't believe how good the opticals looked. And I think it's probably, I don't know, I'd have to do some looking into it, but I think partially because they might have done the opticals on 70 millimeter. Because ILM did the opticals, but there's not a bunch. But that's the thing, is the ones that are in there are really, really good. And you don't really notice any degradation at all. It almost feels like it's all pure negative, like almost digitally put together. But there some scenes you can kind of tell the blue screen is there and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall though, this movie looks amazing, sounds amazing. They have all the different versions of the soundtrack here. You have the original 2.0 stereo track. You got 5.1 remix from a few years back, which is the only version you have on here. And a new Dolby Atmos track, which is also was booming and just made like when he crashes in the beginning, my dog freaked the fuck out. The whole house shook. Like,
nice.
Like it's like boom. It's just like holy shit. But I know, Victor. I hope and pray for you guys that this is the one that doesn't make sense to me. This should be a standalone release.
Yeah, right.
You could have replaced this with La Bamba or Tootsie or something along those lines, because I feel bad for you guys, because this was the biggest surprise of the whole box by far, for a few reasons I'll get into. Not only does it look amazing, sound amazing, and you get all the old special features that you got on the Shout Factory version of it, but it's got a bunch of new special features on it too. So to break into that, it has also the commentary from Jeff
John
Bridges and John Carpenter. I'm so used to John Carpenter and Kurt Russell doing commentaries. So you get them two doing commentary also as well from the Shout Factory edition. I'm not sure if it's from an earlier one or not. I think it's from that time. So it's not that old of a commentary. I listen to most of it. But yeah, so you take the slipcover off, you get the old classic video poster here. None of the special features though this is my only complaint. The audio commentary is not on the 4K disc for some reason. At least usually they do that.
Yeah.
Not on this. I don't know for whatever reason. But everything else is on the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray is the remastered 4K version of the movie, and it puts the Shout Factory version to shame. And that's what I was saying before. Like, this is clearly an older scan. The 4K on this is the blue. Like, even if you here's what I wonder if they're going to do. The way this is set up, I wonder if they're not going to release this in 4K, but I think they're going to release 40th anniversary edition this year on at least Blu-ray, because it's got a bunch of new special features on.
I hope
and that's what it feels like 4K to me. I don't know if it will. We'll see. It might. But I'm just, the way it's set up and the way this feels, I think that's what they're going to end up doing. Plus, you won't be able to get the other special feature. We'll get into it here in a moment.
Yeah.
That really blew my fucking mind, because I didn't even know what's supposed to be on here.
Yeah.
Just let's talk about what's on here besides the featurettes that we got before, the new documentary that was made for Shout Factory, the commentary. You also get shots that they shot. It's cool. You get to see like the opening shot. They just keep going back and forth shooting it, because they obviously had film rolling on them, rolling film, which is kind of neat to see, but it's nothing like blow your mind or anything like that. I didn't even know that Karen Allen and Jeff Bridges did a single version of All I Have to Do Is Dream. But the music videos on here. And yeah, and I got the soundtrack because of that. I didn't even know it was on there. And so you got that on here. The only downside of that, it's not in stereo for some reason, but that's okay. You can just buy the soundtrack or get it off of YouTube in stereo. And again, they got a still gallery, just one theatrical trailer, and that's it. Not the teaser trailer, not the TV spots. But that's all just for the first for the movie, all on the Blu-ray disc. Now, what you also get here inside, and this was a complete surprise to everybody who got this set, you get the complete series of Starman with Robert Hayes.
Nice. On
2 4K discs in 1080p.
Nice.
Now, I hope in the future they start doing this more often for TV shows, because it's real. That's 22 episodes on 2 discs.
Right.
That cleans up a lot of mess, because I got a lot of Blu-ray box sets of shows, and I mean, just one season of a show on a Blu-ray, you only get like 4 to 5 episodes on a disc.
Right.
I mean, they're doubling that or more on here, actually, because these are 48-minute shows, and it looks great. Sounds
a 4K disc.
It sounds in mono, but it looks good. The show came out 2 years after the show, and I watched the show when it was on, and I could have swore that Hayes was playing
the son.
No, Robert Hayes was playing Jeff Bridges' character, which he kind of is, but the way it starts out, not to spoil too much, is he comes back to Earth to see his son, because his son calls him subconsciously while holding the ball while asleep. He actually takes over the new body, so it explains why he looks different. I forgot all about that. I didn't realize he was playing for some reason. Well, of course, excuse me, it's been almost 50 fucking years or 40 years or whatever. Yeah. So like I don't remember that part, but it sadly only ran a season. The show is okay. What I saw, I watched like 3 episodes so far. I haven't got through it all, but it's a nice surprise. I mean, I'm like, well, no wonder this set was more expensive than the other ones. Yeah, so that I can't recommend highly enough. I mean, especially if that box set goes down in price. I mean, it's got some other titles in it that make it kind of worth it, but Starman is definitely the highlight of the box set so far.
That's awesome. And that's
Well,
such
did
a
I even
great-
mention you get the 21 deleted scenes? Did I even? I think I
I
skipped
don't
over
know
that.
if you mentioned that. Yeah, I don't think you
Yeah,
mentioned
there's
that.
like no, there's nothing of like super duper value here. But yeah, there's 24 deleted or 21 deleted scenes. The main one that I could think of that I kind of was like, why didn't they leave that in the movie? It was an extended version of the scene where she calls Charles Martin Smith's character from the bar,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's like, "Can anybody give me a ride to wherever it is they're going to?"
Where are they going? To Grand Canyon, right? Is that where they're going?
No, it's the crater.
Where is
Crater.
that? Yeah, the crater.
Winslow. She's like, "Can somebody give me a ride to Winslow or whatever?" And the guy's like, "Sure." And it shows all that stuff. And as soon as it cuts away from her, it shows her leaving her wallet over the phone, which she's missing in that next scene. It's like, I don't know why they cut that out. It's just a little snippet.
Just like a little, yeah, like
yeah. Otherwise, there's just little things here and there where it's just more of her trying to get away from him or convince him of things. And it just goes longer into the film to where the way the movie is now, it cuts better because she kind of comes around a little sooner, as opposed to like she's still trying to dump him way after, like I think the deer scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Still, and it's like, okay, you've already done past that, and I can see why you cut that out. So like, and then otherwise, there's a few more bits with Charles Martin Smith, and they're just filler scenes to kind of get him up to speed that you obviously didn't need in the film. So
right.
it's cool to have them. They're in pretty decent shape. They're not from the negative, but they're in full HD, so they're there.
Yeah.
But they're nothing to really write home about. You can tell when you watch it why they were cut out of the movie is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I get you.
Oh yeah, they don't explain that, Reverend Jim, at least. But I mean, I guess they did go out of their way though to explain this part of it. I guess, which I mean, you almost have to because, I mean, unless he kept the body. I mean,
Yeah, unless that's true. It's true. But man,
the TV show is just a long line of the same kind of thing. It's what I call a magic social worker.
Right.
And what shows fall into that, you may ask? Well, The Incredible Hulk, Highway to Heaven, Starman. Sort of, but what I mean is like you got these people that are either on the run or on their way somewhere traveling, and every episode they run into somebody who needs their help. And one member has special magic powers, whether it's an angel or the Hulk, or in this case, Starman. So yeah.
Yeah, I get you. I know what you're saying.
And they're the same fucking show.
Yeah.
They're all the same show.
Yeah, Highway to Heaven.
That's what I said. They're all the same show, really.
The same show. Yeah.
Incredible Hulk, that. I'm sure there was a show or two that preceded that I'm
Werewolf.
not aware.
Which I've been wanting on Blu-ray forever. Do you remember that show?
I think so.
It was
Werewolf or Werewolf?
Werewolf. It was on Fox. It was one of Fox's early show, along with 21 Jump Street and all them. It only ran for one season. He becomes a werewolf and he travels from town to town, just like Incredible Hulk. You know,
Touched by an Angel was also like that, but
yeah,
Touched by an Angel was almost kind of like a quasi sequel to Highway to Heaven anyway, in a weird way.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I don't think, but it had the same kind of. It kind of picked up where that left off. It felt like it was kind of like, okay,
yeah, I get you. But that is, I mean, that's a win for that box set. If I had the money, I would buy that box set, especially with it being 190 right now.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if they're necessarily going to release a version that has all this crap in it. That's where
I know that's I really would.
But it's almost worth it if you have the Shout Factory edition or you haven't picked it up yet. It's almost worth the upgrade just to get the Blu-ray.
Right.
That will probably inevitably come out.
Right.
Because that's what they did to. And here's why I say that, because that's exactly what they did to kind of sort of to Fright Night. Only they just didn't release the 4K. They had a 4K scan. They used it for that anniversary. And that sat on the shelf for 5 years. And then when the next anniversary came around, that's when they
the
4K released.
Yeah.
Sony's not above that shit. I'm not going to say they're not, but they always deliver on quality. So
they do. They do.
Yeah. But that's all I got, guys. We're done.
All right, well, I got one more.
Yeah, you got one more. I mean,
we don't have to talk long about this if you guys don't want to. It's my final Fox movie of the thing. I've never upgraded this to 4K. I've never really had the urge to, but it's X-Men, the original X-Men.
I just rewatched that recently as well.
I actually have the 4Ks of the first three.
I was gonna say, do they look any good? I've never really.
I think those are also ones that are not from the negative, but they're actually from the inner positive.
Mm,
Kind of like with Footloose earlier, actually.
no. So the Blu-rays would be just as good if you have them.
I'm sure there's some resolution uptick. I'd have to check them side by side.
Yeah, because I mean, I like
The
the first two.
chances are those Blu-rays are probably from the same exact transfer.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna say I like the first two X-Men movies, but I've never felt the need to upgrade them to 4K. So
I mean, if they actually went, I'd have to double check them. Like I said, I'm almost 100% positive they're not from the negative though. From when I watched them. Now, if they were to actually go back and get the first 3 films from the negative, those would be worth the upgrade.
yeah,
I think up through First Class, I think were filmed on film.
yeah.
I may even more than that, but I'm not 100%. But I think at least those 4 or 5 were filmed on film. Origins was, I believe, and
That's cool. Well, I mean, if they do it, because I've thought about getting the 4Ks, but I've never really.
well, you can catch that 4K box set pretty cheap. I
Yeah,
got it for
yeah,
like $30.
yeah. I've seen like they have that.
I was like,
and the
well, fuck,
3.
for $10 a piece on 4K, fuck it. You know,
Yeah,
so-
yeah. They have the first 3 on 4K box set, and then the First Class and
yeah.
the other 2. I can't think of the names right now.
Days of Future Past and
Days of Future
Apocalypse,
Past,
I think it
Yeah,
is.
Apocalypse.
You
and-
see, like I got Dark Phoenix on 4K just bought separately, but it's still in the plastic, and I'll probably never open it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've heard that's
Days
a
of
shitty
Future
one.
Past, Days of Future Past, I have the 3D version, so I've never even upgraded to the
4K.
Rogue Cut or whatever. And I don't
Oh,
know what
yeah,
version's on the 4K of that one anyway. It might be
Yeah.
both. I know, but I do have the
Uh,
4K of Logan, but I don't have the 4K of First Class.
No. Okay. But yeah, I always enjoyed the first. I mean, granted,
Apocalypse, I got the 3D too.
Yeah,
I don't think
Apocalypse.
anybody cares.
I've always enjoyed the first 2 X-Men movie, and I do like First Class as well, and I do like Days of Future Past. But I always enjoyed the first 2 movies. Granted, they're not comic book accurate as much as we would like to say, but I always enjoyed them. I do think
No, that was a
Rogue-
hell of a movie, and the second one's even better. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the second one. I remember seeing them both in the. I do think Rogue is miscast. Not nothing against her. That's
No,
not
I
how
agree.
Rogue, but for everybody else is pretty solid. And it's funny to see Hugh Jackman as skinny as he is as Wolverine in the first movie when she walks into the fight that he's having and he's in the cage. He's
Little
so
scrappy,
little.
little
He's
scrappy
so
Wolverine,
little.
you know.
I mean, it's just he's so skinny and it I don't know, man. It's just weird looking seeing him. But I do enjoy it. I wanted to watch part 2 before tonight. I wanted to watch part 2 before we got into it, but I didn't have time. But yeah, I enjoyed the first X-Men movie. My biggest problem is I think Rogue is miscast in the movies. But I like Anna Paquin. I think she's all right. It's fun. They're a fun movie. Yeah, and yes, Hugh Jackman actually I do believe was a last minute replacement for Dougray Scott, if I remember. Yes.
Yeah, because Tom Cruise wouldn't let him go.
Yeah. But I mean, after watching the X-Men 97 cartoon, the original, the good version, all them years, and then seeing that on, I mean, you can thank Blade and X-Men for the superhero boom we have now. Blade started it and X-Men really ramped it up. But it's a good movie. I enjoy it. Probably my biggest complaints I said is Rogue, and I don't like what they did to Sabretooth because I think the guy playing Sabretooth looks so great as Sabretooth, but they kind of just use him as a villain, just like a
What
thug.
kind of character? How is he supposed to be? Was he better in Origins as far as the character, or?
Well, I mean, they give him a little bit of more of his story and origins, even though that it's like they don't really explain the differences between the two. But like Sabretooth is Wolverine's like Lex Luthor. He's like his, sort of like one of those main villains of his, and he has such more unique backstory and a connection to Wolverine, and that they just essentially he's just this mindless beast working for Magneto. So
Yeah.
you don't get his story in that with him and Wolverine like you should.
I like Liev Schreiber as
I do like Liev Schreiber as him though. I think they have a heck of a great fight scene in Origins for all the crap they get. They have a really great fight scene.
I do like I don't like Origins, but I like a lot of the stuff with him and Sabretooth.
I do too. I think that is the best part of that movie. Is in Sabretooth,
especially that bar scene. Like that's a great scene.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
What are people's biggest problems with The Last Stand?
Well, that's
Okay. Okay.
Everybody always says they
There's a
like
lot
one
to
and
go in
two,
on
and
that
so
one.
it's like, well, because
Okay.
I rewatched the whole trilogy recently, and I mean, I think that there's
You
issues with kind of
have
all of them, but they do a lot of decent enough stuff for the most part too.
okay.
But
First of
I don't
all,
know
you
if
have
it all
the
comes from comic based things or not.
follow up
complaints.
to the best X-Men movie with the least at that time.
Mhm.
Bryan Singer took off to do Superman, and they wouldn't wait for him.
Mhm.
And that, I believe, hurt the quality of the film because it feels like one step away from being a shot straight for video film.
Right.
You got Brian, what's his name? Rush Hour.
Brett
director.
Ratner.
Brett
Ratner.
Ratner directed, and he's a competent enough a director, but he's obviously just a studio. He just did whatever the fuck they told him to do, and that movie
Mhm.
feels like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. It's got a lot of editing and pacing issues. You got one scene where literally it goes from daylight to nighttime within a matter of seconds, where Magneto's moving the bridge
Yeah.
or whatever.
They
Yeah,
go-
it's
him
like
moving the bridge was kind of weird.
there's a whole lot of stupid in that fucking movie. That's the problem. It took what was a promising setup with X2 and really just fucking nerfed the landing, let's say.
Yeah, I mean, because like they
And
set
then
up
they
the Dark
ham fist in the Phoenix Saga into it too,
Yeah.
which still it's the
It-
better version of the two from my understanding. I haven't watched
Yeah.
the new one, but
I
yeah.
wasn't. Yeah, from what it's probably it's probably better than the Dark Phoenix. I would assume Last Stand is. I've never seen the Dark
And
Phoenix.
this also started this trend of killing Professor X every fucking chance they got.
Yeah.
I get, but I feel like in X3, that's the main time where I'd say it's more justified. Like the way that he gets killed
Yes.
it's
Now,
not
in
unceremoniously
hindsight-
at all. It's done in a
In
way.
hindsight, is 3 a bad movie? Not as bad as the rest. Like part 1 is like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Part 2 is like a 9 or a 10 out of 10.
I say
Part
X3
3 is a
being
major
50-50.
step down to like
I'd
a 6
say
or a 7 out of 10.
X3,
Yeah.
somewhere like that. I'd say that's a fair way to grade it because again, just rewatching it, there's a lot of really good scenes in it, a lot of good acting in it,
And
a lot of good moments in it, and a lot of
they-
good motivation and stuff from picking off from the last movies. But like you said, there is a lot of goofy shit in there here and there. There's some
Kind of
concepts that aren't-
unceremoniously take out what's her face Mystique as well.
I was
Yeah,
about to say she
yeah,
was
And the
her
way
real
what they
good,
did
and
to
then
Scott was
oh.
bullshit, but that was just
Yeah.
because he was going to shoot
Yeah.
Superman Returns.
Yeah,
And it was
I,
there was
hate,
some
I
some
hated
things-
that they killed
yeah.
Cyclops. I
There
think
was-
Cyclops got the most screwed over in these movies.
But
'Cause he is such
I
much
don't
more of
like
an
him in these
important
movies.
character.
I don't know how he's supposed to be. I'm like, wow, he's just kind
Well,
of
Cyclops should be so much more important.
So
than
the
him
basic
making any
answer
movies.
to your question is they set it up for the Phoenix Saga and they fucked it up.
Mhm.
I got you. Well, it felt like they were trying to do more than one thing. Like the Phoenix, like they're trying to merge the Phoenix saga with a "we can cure your disease" sort of saga. But I feel like even by the end, when they show Magneto move the chess piece, that the implication is that the cure doesn't cure you permanently; it's a temporary cure. But they
Well,
they don't
even
really
if it
make
did,
they don't
they
make
didn't really
that clear to you.
play
But
with it in a sense of way it could have been used, right? It should have been set up to be
Yeah,
that's
that's what
the
I'm
way
saying.
that they take out Phoenix, but instead it should have been up to either Professor X or Wolverine to make that choice, or in this case, Cyclops. Actually, it should
Yeah,
have
it
been.
should be really should have been Cyclops.
But that should have been the whole debate of the third act: is what do we do? Do we actually use this? First they eliminate the threat of Magneto, but now that they actually have this weapon in their hands, right? Like,
well, and then Magneto just kind of slinks off. It's like he's
yeah,
kind of a part of
what
it. I felt
happens
like
then is
he
so
even
you get him
regrets
out
it,
or
and
no,
it's
well,
like,
I
oh,
didn't
he
mind.
wasn't with them.
Okay, let me take that back. He should actually side with them and fight
That's
with
what I was
them.
kind of saying,
Because
because
he
he's
should
not-
be the
to me,
guy
he's
saying
never-
that now that we have the weapon, we should use it against her, and it should be, or vice versa. You should have the other way around.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's just sets up the debate then of what you do to take her out.
I
But then again,
agree,
it's still
yes.
not loyal to the series, right? Like,
Like-
that's the problem. Either way, you
like
cut it.
I like Magneto doesn't. He's not a villain. He does villainous things. He is a villain, of course, but he's not your typical villain guy. He is trying to save his kind essentially, and
But that's just
so,
it.
yeah,
He doesn't
if
care
he were
about
to help,
humans.
well, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. If you were to, in this case, seeing Jean as the Phoenix, like her full power on display, like, okay, we're all fucked if she's around. She's killing our own kind right now. okay, we gotta stop her. I gotta side with you guys. You know,
Well, right.
that
Even
would have
the
been a
worst of
good
bad
end to
guys
the
is going to
trilogy.
realize there's no world to conquer if there's no world left. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, well, and it's like for him, I feel like that would be good to end out the trilogy, like a good way for because those two, especially since Charles isn't around and he like,
Well,
and you know, that's
Where
that's
the
where-
Cyclops should take over.
that's where the death of, or not the death, but the humanizing of Mystique you could have played with that more, like have him be more bothered by it. Because the way it happens in the movie,
yeah,
he's just like,
shakes it off.
shit
He's like, well,
happens.
you're one
you
of
know?
them now, and it's like,
Yeah,
it's
and
such a
that's
it's
not-
such a
no,
pity. What a
she-
pity. And it's like that doesn't
she-
feel like him from the first and second one. She was his rock in the second one, especially. Like,
Well, not just that, she is a very important piece of his. And as we see in First Class, they do have a bit deeper of a relationship, and she is a very important villain.
Yeah.
Right, and she is arguably the most dangerous villain besides Magneto.
she's one of the most
Mhm.
interesting as well.
Well,
and
yeah, I
well
mean, she
acted.
could be
and, oh my
anybody at
God.
any time, right? Like, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, so
Yeah.
the way they did that, they should have had that play into the whole point of like, I lost one, now you guys got to sacrifice one kind of thing, and that's where Magneto would have made his argument or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Now I could see how it could be improved big time. I thought even the whole like cure, the temporary cure thing, where they're convinced it's a full-on cure. I wish that was more that played more of a role in the thing where.
Well, and I think that
okay,
was a
no,
big
no,
part
it
of the
does
comics
come
too,
back.
from my memory.
Yeah, I think
but
that.
I'm-
Yeah, one of them. That's
'Cause it-
another. That's another one where they tried to put too many comic books together, like you mentioned.
It just
Too many cooks. They tried to merge too many comic books together for that movie.
and it just made me think about this too. Rogue's power. I'm kind of confused on her ability in the movies, but like, doesn't she kind of take their powers, sort of, or
yeah,
something? Because
they set that up, but they don't really use it the way they could as much.
because that element with that guy who can sort of like he can mute your powers for a bit. She can take powers. I feel like there's a lot in this movie that I think is really interesting and could be really.
And
good.
I haven't watched the movie in
But
like
you're
almost
right.
15 years, probably.
But you're
yeah.
right. They don't.
Yeah.
They there's way too many cooks in the kitchen. I didn't know that about.
We're
it,
not even
but
talking about the first movie, which is what you brought
Yeah,
up.
which I brought
Yeah,
on the
but-
first one, and Rob
Sorry,
just
well-
took us.
No,
to
and the
third
first
one.
one's a
Because we
pretty
kind of-
solid movie.
There's not much
There's
to
a
say about the
few
first one. It's
well, there's a
good,
few
yeah.
bits in it that do have issues. There's some editing and pacing issues. I remember something to do with that whole like, do you know what happens when Toad gets struck by lightning? The
Yeah.
same thing that happens to
You know,
everything else.
This whole-
Like,
Yeah, that was
like,
kind
That
of
comes
stupid.
off as one of the dumbest lines in the movie, but I
Yeah.
guess that's because it's part of a bit that was cut out.
That encapsulates its cheesiness too. I
And
don't
her
know.
accent.
So
It's
like
like
it doesn't make any
awful.
sense because the context isn't there anymore.
Well, even
So,
him, he's like, it's like, why won't you people die? After he just like kicks them a few times. Like, I don't know. You're not really like.
no, there was a
killing them
whole
with
nother
any of your
fight sequence
blows or-
between her and him before that,
Yeah.
and I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think it's in the deleted scenes, but it might
say
be in the
The
novel or
third
something.
act
like
is
that.
probably the weirdest part of X1, where it's like you could probably have done a little better at making this a little more.
I don't
don't
know.
know.
It's just it's the pacing of the editing that's the problem. And like I said,
Probably.
there's payoffs for shit that's not set up correctly, and I'm
Mhm.
sure if I went through it with a fine tooth comb, I haven't watched it in a while. I'm sure I could find a dozen issues with it, but
Right.
overall, I mean, that being said, it does a really good job of updating the X-Men to a bit more modern age, not too far removed from what they were. Yeah, I mean, we could sit here and debate all day long on the black leather, you know.
I would have liked the original. I mean,
I didn't
Cyclops
hate
outfit
it.
It's,
looked
it's whatever
fine.
to me as a non-comic.
Some of
I
them
mean,
looked
it's
like
fine,
Cyclops,
whatever.
Wood, and Rose.
It still looked like the X-Men. Okay, that's all that mattered to me. Is it looked
I-
enough like the X-Men? It felt enough like the X-Men. Could there have been some improvements on various ends? Yes, there could be. But if you want to tie it into the whole X-Men '97 thing and the stuff that we're hearing about that, like, I mean, the fact that this DeMeo guy, that's one of the big people involved with it, is bringing his experience as a black gay man to the table. And this is
What?
going to be all non-binary, LGBTQ'd up.
X-Men '97 cartoon.
I mean,
yeah.
what it reminds me of is, sadly, and I hate to even invoke him because he was a big part of this movie, and clearly when you get to part 3, you can tell that Bryan Singer, I mean, it's prominent in interviews where he talks about it. He never hid the fact that he was never a big X-Men fan,
Mhm.
right? Like, he was clearly too old by the time the cartoon had come out, and he never really read the comics, but because he was always a Superman guy. But he said,
So why
I
is-
got,
Oh.
but he's like, I got into the comics and I could find myself relating to these characters in the way that they were being treated and the whole, you know, social issue that you could analogy to growing up as being, you know, a gay or bi teenager or whatever, however you put it. So he's like, I can relate to that into the story. But what he didn't do is inject that into the story.
No.
Right.
'cause-
What you don't have is a character going, well, I'm not only am I a mutant, but I'm gay.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
they would now. You know, it's like my
Yeah.
pronouns are X, you know,
They have their
he,
victim
he,
cards.
they, them,
you know,
X.
Yeah.
you have it, they, them. I raise you. I'm also a mutant and this and cripple. What do you
Right.
got? What's
And
your
that's
card?
my issue with it is like once you start putting label on these things, it kind of takes away the charm of what the X-Men is all about. And that is that, and even the original X-Men, look, the whole point of it, this is what people don't realize. Stan Lee did the X-Men. Well, not most people know this, they're comic book fans, but not like film people.
Well,
Is it Stan Lee just did the X-Men?
I heard that it was hard, that it was like getting more difficult to make powers.
Exactly. That's exactly
it. Was always,
it. Nothing more than
do like a.
Well, he was just he was getting lazy. He flat out admitted, I was getting lazy, and I wanted a way to coming up with superhero characters without having to, you know, investigate or learn about gamma radiation or fucking.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense because you can make great characters without having.
It was just a
to
shortcut.
Yeah.
It was nothing more than a shortcut. Then the social kind of civil rights thing came in, and people could put into that analogy a lot of different things. Not just the black and white thing, not just the gay thing. There's so much you can read into that. And Bryan Singer understood that. So you don't fuck with that part. But these new guys, they don't understand that. They got to put labels on it now. Right.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. And when you do that, that's just going to alienate people who don't relate to that. Because now you're saying, well, it's just for these people. It's like, no. The X-Men were representative of all people. Right? Anybody who felt othered, anybody who felt like an outsider, anybody who didn't fit in. It didn't matter if you were black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Asian, if you're gay, if you're bi, if you're any of these things. You could relate to them because it's just an analogy.
Yeah, it was just like these group of outcasted people, sort of, because X could mean anything.
And that's just it. And once you start putting labels on it, it starts othering those people too.
I feel like
it's like you're comparing being queer to being a mutant.
Exactly.
I was gonna say, it sounds like they're putting labels on things that don't make sense. Like Magneto is like a Holocaust survivor in the movies, but like
the original actor was gay that played him, but you wouldn't know that.
You wouldn't take away. That's what I'm saying. You wouldn't take away Jews are evil or something, like because he's the Holocaust survivor who's the villain. Like that, I feel like that's what these people would take away from that or something. And it's like, no, like what do you mean?
Well, here's the thing with Magneto. The irony of his character is he's somebody who should have compassion and understood what it's like not to other people. And he's the last person on earth who does.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He's more than willing to just eliminate humans if it means the safety of, which is exactly what the Nazis were doing.
So
it's like he didn't even learn from that.
Yeah, he learned the wrong lesson. He learned a lesson. Well, if they can do it to us, then I'll just do it to the humans.
Which makes him a villain.
Exactly.
So yes, those people who say he is not a villain, I disagree. I'm like, no, he's kind of a villain.
I mean, when you speak of villains, you think of Magneto. I don't really see him as an anti-hero or anything like that.
Yeah, but he still has. Good.
Anti-hero is a little bit better but he's not really an anti-hero. He's more of an anti-villain.
He is a complex villain because he's not just like, I'm gonna slit your throat. He's like, he's trying to improve the lives of other people. His biggest foe is on the other side, but also his best friend. I don't know if that's how it is in the comics, really, but
they were close.
Oh yeah, but they played that up more with the later, like the original X-Men were what are in First Class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was the original 4 or 5 people that played it that were the X-Men, aside from Jean Grey and Cyclops, basically.
Yeah.
Or no, they're in First Class. That's right.
They're in it too. Yeah.
I totally spaced that out that they're in there.
They don't have Cyclops in the first one. They have some guy who's got a similar power to him, who is like fires like
Cyclops.
He fires like X's out of his chest or something.
Oh, is it his brother?
It's his Cyclops brother.
Because
it's not out of his eyes. It has been a long time since I've watched it. Sorry.
It's like energy out of his chest or something.
That's right. You're right.
Cyclops brother.
Because he dies. You're right. Yep.
Yeah.
Because he Vadered himself to death.
Yeah, Vader himself.
Oh, we got an announcement, guys.
Oh, what is
6
it?
minutes ago from Umbrella Entertainment, they dropped their May releases.
Oh, what was it?
Nothing major. One interesting one though. Primer is finally getting a Blu-ray release. I don't know if you
Is
guys
that the
are.
time travel movie that
Yes.
people always talk about?
Yes.
I've always heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Oh, it's weird. It's a fucking trip.
That's what I've heard.
It's not your typical kind of movie. Like you're about 2/3 in the way in the movie before you kind of start figuring out what's going on, and even then, you're still not quite sure.
That's what I've heard. I've heard it's a trippy movie.
It is, but not to spoil too much of it, but it's kind of like based upon the idea of like what happens if you kill a doppelganger version of yourself from either the future or the past or whatever kind of thing. It's like
That sounds interesting.
after these guys accidentally create time travel. That's one of the more interesting parts too. It's like,
Nice.
yeah, because I can't even remember what they're doing. I think they're trying to work on a way of preserving fruit or whatever for shipping or something like that. I can't remember what it was. I think because this one has literally been like 25 years since it first came out.
I've heard people talk about it. I've never seen it though.
And so like what they find out, they have like this. They leave something in there too long, and it's an orange, and it ends up growing a buttload of mold. I don't remember what the fuck the machine was supposed to be for exactly, but it had something to do with shipping. So maybe it was like almost like a teleporter or something like that. But anyway, that part doesn't necessarily work. But the part that works is they realize that the thing was in the machine for like this really long time. And there was only a few minutes to them. So they're like, well, if we build a machine that's big enough to hold a human, would we theoretically be able to travel through time? And so they actually take a fucking storage shed and make a big version of their machine, and they start hopping through time. And then you start they notice some complications, like the one guy starts getting nosebleeds and shit like that, and it leads up to this ending that I'm not going to spoil for you guys, but it's like a trip of an ending. And once you kind of figure out, like to this day, I've talked to people about the movie trying to figure out exactly what it all is, and I think I've nailed it, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys. So yeah, it's an interesting trippy movie. It's been a while since I've seen it. I want to see it again, so I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. Sounds fun.
Otherwise, you got You'll Never Find Me, Trash Humpers, Trash Humpers. I read it right.
I don't think I've never heard of any of that.
Yeah, me either. And Upstream Color. Upstream Color. Never heard of that one either.
Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, but Primer looks like it might be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That's fine. I'm gonna have to pick up Primer. I've heard about.
We're trying to keep it short, and we're already at 2 hours and 20
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, I know. So we'll probably close it down. But real quick, I think X-Men Apocalypse was about the time Singer was getting in trouble. So, if I remember correctly,
he got booted. Yeah, he left.
Yeah, so that's what happened with that movie.
Simon Kinberg took over that, I think.
Yeah. But I enjoyed the first. I really, really do enjoy the first two X-Men movies. I think Last Stand's all right. It's not. It's a bit of a mess, like Tom was saying. I tend to agree with him with that. I think First Class is a good movie. I think Days of Future Past is a good movie. And then after that, it's sort of just that's it.
I think X-Men Origins is an entertaining watch. I don't know if I don't think I'd say it's good, but it's a very watchable movie. I love that movie.
It has good Sabretooth Wolverine stuff. I'll give them that much. Really good on that.
It's half a good movie. That's about it. Yeah.
I
like the Bone Claws. I did like the Bone Claws. That was pretty. I was pretty cool with that.
Walk it and
his metal claws in that are the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, those are pretty shit. Those are notorious stuff.
You know, the rumor is that Richard Donner actually came in and did some reshoots and re-edited that movie.
Really?
Yeah, so it probably was worse. And I mean, I seen one of the earlier versions of it that leaked online, but it wasn't much different.
Yeah,
I think there was just a couple of scenes that were a little different. And that's it. It just didn't have finished effects, but yeah.
Yeah, when you watch that first X-Men movie, the speaking of which is when his claws comes out in the bar, how realistic that looks and how great they look. And you watch X-Men Origins Wolverine and the claws look like you could tell they're fake as crap. Like, how did you go from this is a newer movie? What happened? And but I don't mind the Wolverine movie where he's in Japan. I like that movie. I think that's actually
we got another Warner release too all of a sudden here.
Oh, what was this?
Warner Archives, March 26th, Money Talks.
I had mentioned that earlier.
Oh, you did? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, dude. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Well, I didn't even, but I didn't know about Stand and Deliver either. So
Just hit 102 the Fahrenheit down here in Australia. Wonder why the beer went down so quick. All right, random Brad. Nice. But yeah, I had fun. I really wanted to have the second one watched too before I brought it on, but I didn't have time. But yeah, there you guys have it. There's for the show tonight. I know we started a little earlier. I'm glad you guys all showed up, and I appreciate y'all out in the chat for hanging with us and everybody at home watching us. Good night to you all. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
How you doing? Bitches leave.